Snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you had some dinner. I wolfed down a little bit, so I'm burping like, yeah. But what, if any, did the timeline tell you this morning, Mo?
Apparently it takes 3 chicks and 1 crayon to make a timeline.
Yeah, Denise came in. And MP Rupa, Anime Rupa, I did see it. I wanted to show it, but we just got a little too caught up in Denise. I want to know, apparently Denise is the one who looks kind of like a retired suitcase made of leather.
You're going to have to be more specific in this case.
The one who flew out of a car, I think. I asked on Twitter, who is it? So... And they said the one who looks really, really old. She looks like she's been on Ozempic while tanning twice a day and living off Newports and Coke.
Wait, that's not how we're supposed to be doing this?
No, don't tan twice a day. The rest is
Baker,
what's called a streamer
they don't
diet.
even put light bulbs in when I go in to tan. They're like, ma'am, you can stand in the front parking lot.
Yeah, just pay us $20 and you'll find. But Anime Rupa asked me if I could use Bender to show, because, yeah, it's something funny. This is how they find John. On his back, with his arms by his side. After he checked his phone for 20 seconds, decided, nope, I'm going to put it behind me, and then I'm just going to fall backwards and crash my head and die from that. Because we have that little 20-second gap. Don't worry about it. The phone will tell you. The phone battery was cold. If someone got clipped by a car, centrifugal forces would kind of do this. So why is his arms by his side? Wouldn't he be in all different directions?
Yeah, because that's typically how I watch way too much ID, investigation crime network. But if you are standing up when you die just suddenly, you end up with crossed legs. So there are some telltales. Why don't we have an animation? We were able to spend $300,000 on Brennan, and I don't have a little stickman animation of how in the heck this man got hit on his left side, pirouetted, head down.
Yeah, he did the defense motion because this is what a cop would do. He wouldn't jump away from the car. No, he'll just take it on the elbow because he's such a strong guy. While he was bent over picking up his shoe with two glasses in. That's the Wendy Murphy version. That's a little bit. But he's doing this. He got sideswiped. Then he was checking his phone while holding a glass, or he was using his... I can't use my left hand on my phone. It must be right-handed. But then he stands there after being sideswiped. He just stands still. And then 20 seconds later, he says, "Oh, Jen sent me a message." Click.
Yeah, and the fact that injury was immediately incapacitating. So
Yeah.
he somehow checked his phone after he got knocked on the noggin in that split seconds between conscious and not.
Yeah, he thought it's going to be easier to put me in a coffin if I just lay still flat.
But
Make it
instead
make
of
sense. We're not the channel that's going to do that. We're the channel that's going to make fun of everything, especially the tablecloth the last witness was wearing. It's a choice. It's not a good choice, but it's a choice. The rest, you'll have to find someone who is way smarter than Mo and I. We
True.
barely understand how we got out of bed this morning. That's the thing, because if I am operating my phone, I have it in my right hand. The hand I am putting up to defend against a 6,000-pound car, because I'm apparently an idiot who doesn't know I can't stop a car with my arm. And my phone, while I spin around, spins almost at the exact same speed, a little faster than me, and ends up here. But I'm still holding it because I have to be standing for 20 seconds and close my phone after she drives off. And then I'm going to fall, land on top of my phone, hit my head, put my arms along my side, and just stay still for evermore.
Well, Baker, he lost the will to live when he learned that Karen wore her shoes inside. He's like, that's it. I'm no longer fighting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he lost his shoe. That's right. Was Carrie asked if she heard Karen say, "I hit him 3 times," like the EMTs tried to say, considering she was at the scene? No, she said she ran around saying, "Did I hit him? Could I have hit him?" That position is illegal in Germany. Hey, genitals. They could do the animation for a couple of grand easily. The problem is, I think Microdots did the animation, Bev wouldn't allow it in. Yeah, he wandered for 20 seconds before falling down. That's what he said in opening statements, because they have that little problem that he closes his phone manually. At 12:32, 47, 11. And we know Karen hooks up with John O'Keefe's internet at 12:36, 6 minutes away from the scene. So actually, he wanders around for 2 minutes. Because at the latest in perfect condition, she must have left Fairview 34 at 12:30. It makes sense if you don't think about it.
It does. Well, on something that we're thinking about, over under that we get done with 2 witnesses today, or 1.5.
Well, now we're going to have Archdiaconess Peggy come up and ask for the deification of John, because he was such a good guy. She sued him, I think she did, or at least they were in a fight and threatened to sue each other because she didn't want to take care of the kids. Neither did Paul O'Balls, who now has the kids. No, he doesn't have. She has the kids because Paul O'Balls didn't want the kids. I never wanted kids, as he said to the glazed donut he was chatting up online. You don't give your phone to strangers sometimes or use your left hand. That's not very thoughtful of you, Baker. No, I can't figure it out how to do it left-handed. Who's my friend? This is Bender.
I mean, I get that Peggy has had a lot of loss in her life, but I would be very upset if this happened to my son, and I noticed all these things about the investigation. That being said,
he carried 2 glasses, a phone, and tried to fiddle with his shoe while getting hit with a tail. I pirouetted around, opening his phone to check a text, then fell with his arms by his sides, face down. No, he was on his back now.
oh my God, I know what happened, Baker. He had to check. Someone was calling him about his extended car warranty, and that's an important call. So he was like, I'm sorry, I just got sideswiped, but that extended warranty, tell me more.
Do you think we're going to call Ranjit and say, so you were scam calling John O'Keefe on the 29th? Yes. I work
and
for
Jackson's first
Microsoft
question is going to be, your name isn't really Steve, is it?
Yeah. You don't live in Washington, do you? Why are you listed in Bangalore? Is it Peggy or the text cop? The text cop will take forever. It's going to be Peggy. That's what they said.
The text cop, the state dropped, they're the bestest boys ever, but they dropped evidence of a new program and new PowerPoints at 10:45 last night to the defense.
Yeah, but it's not trial by ambush. We demand a fair trial. The defendant has a fair trial. We demand a fair trial. We don't want trial by ambush. By the way, here's 5,000 pages. Fair trial. Fair trial. She should admonish that idiot, but she won't.
What the hell?
I think I'm going to stream like this now.
Best stream.
I dig it.
This is how Shizzy will look when he's at the table with the rest of us.
Oh, yikes.
No, but now Peggy is going to come, and Peggy is going to say Karen was a hoback. I've got a lot of direct sun in my room right now.
You need a curtain.
I have a curtain, but I haven't pulled it all the way down, and I have a big table in front of my window, so it's a little hard to get there. And it's actually coming off of a wall. No, I think it's this. Yeah, it's my map of the Americas that just reflected into my face. No, Peggy's going to come and say she was never good to John. And then said, yeah, we found out the next morning we drove down there. No, I forgot about. I just went to Rackets and saw him for a second. And he said, well, I don't know if the jury will pick up on this, but anyone who lives there, who heard her say, we went by the back roads because I was afraid going on the highway, they must be sitting there thinking, you are slow in French. Who believes what you just said?
That's dumb.
People that don't drive. I mean, in the snow.
And again, it's everyone there drives in the snow because it's in Massachusetts. I know it was the worst blizzard in recorded history. Wind speeds excels those at the gas giant planets, but still, no one believes you would drive on a back road in a blizzard.
No. It doesn't make sense.
It seems counterintuitive. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would just say I was in shock.
Yeah, I'll just keep saying shock, but I was in shock. And we bonded over this horrific accident. She's now my best friend in the whole world. Has anyone explained how these injuries to arm was supposed to happen to the front? Oh, that's a cool little sheepy. Front interior of the right arm, and he wasn't hit by the whole dang car itself. Yeah, he got sideswiped, and it was when the tail light busted on his arm, it bit him. It's the scrapes from the tail light. It didn't grab him enough that it just tore his arm off, which it would have done if it grabbed him. It didn't hit any part other than this part of the arm, because this part didn't crush the tail light that's right in front of it, which it would have hit. But this got grabbed by a tail light. If you don't think about it, it makes complete sense.
It does. It really does. I was confused there for a second.
Do we need to ask the question, why was Karen more concerned with Karen not taking off her shoes in John's house than she was? She said it took them 2 minutes to remove their boots because you can't walk in with boots in John's house. That's such a stupid statement. We're looking for a guy. We're afraid he might be dead. Hey. House order. I would volunteer to wash the floor if I was looking for someone. I would say I'll be back tomorrow washing the floor.
The other thing that bothers me about that is Karen Reed basically lived there. Like she didn't live there, but she was there all the time, right? That's essentially her home too.
Yeah.
They're all judging her for not taking off her shoes. Get over it. It's not even your house, lady.
Yeah.
And how do removing your boots take 2 minutes? Again, Mo, as a female, as our resident female, how?
They weren't wearing Uggs, so I don't even know how they can be called suburban wine moms.
The audacity.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine the feet funk in that front room? Just Uggs being taken off with no socks on, just ew.
Oh, sorry, I was a slight smidge behind. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And
are we missing stuff?
O'Keefe Eve on the stand. No Aiden today.
Jurors. Thank you.
Can't be around Peggy, I don't think.
All right, your next witness, please, Mr.
Oh, let's just go back and see. Who do we have in? We have Paulo Balls. We don't have the weirdo who threatened or bumped Karen that day. Is this Aaron that's next to him?
No, Aaron's not there. That's one of the Aruba sisters, I think.
Yeah, Solomon's sister. It's the older Solomon. Yeah, but this is a Sullivan, I think.
Yeah.
And his lifelong love that got away isn't in court either today. I saw someone checking out her boobies yesterday. Lefty Dave and Val take long stream showers after miles-long goat-style elephant walks in high heels at Dotty's behest. Remember to vote Brandon for Mother of the Year 2025. It's 1-800-BRANDON Mother of the Year 2025. Thank you so very, very much, Brandon.
Very, very good.
You are. Let's just leave it up there for an hour. Oh, it's gonna be very. I'll have to go and yes, let's get to it. Have to do something. Nope. Yes, maybe.
You saw Mr. the evidence was what during the case now against the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth.
So, good afternoon, Mrs. O'Keefe. Yeah. All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mrs. O'Keefe.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brennan.
Could you kindly introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Margaret O'Keefe. I'm John O'Keefe's mother.
Are you married?
Yes,
Who are you married to?
John O'Keefe Jr.
How long have you been married for?
Too long. 53 years.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
53. Long enough?
How long?
I'm sorry. I know it's a joke. But John O'Keefe's father is also missing a son.
Yeah.
It was fun in the beginning, but this one, in the end, that was just a mean old bitch. I'm sorry.
Who are you married to?
John O'Keefe Jr.
How long have you been married for?
Too long.
That was fun.
53 years.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
53. Long enough?
What is up with
long have you
witnesses just adding their own commentary track?
Long enough? Yes. That's mean.
Is
I meant
this
at the top of
showing
the chat,
tension?
people can see it, not over her face. You want it on her face, Brandon. I know you will. Can you pin super chats?
Giggity.
No, you can't pin super chats. That's weird.
You can't on YouTube?
No,
Maybe
can't pin
not.
super chats. I don't know. I can put him in moderation or in timeout or ban him. Can't put super chats in.
In the area.
We moved to Canton 3 years ago.
Before you moved to Canton 3 years ago, where did you live?
Braintree.
How long had you lived in Braintree for?
50 years?
Did you begin your family in Braintree?
No, we lived in Mattapan first, and that's where my daughter was born. And then we moved to Braintree.
Your daughter was born when you were in Mattapan?
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter's name?
Kristen,
How many children did you have?
3,
You, Kristen and John?
and Paul,
Is Paul the youngest, the baby?
the baby.
Did you raise your children? How long were you in Mattapan before you moved closer to here?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
How long did you live in Mattapan before you moved closer?
2 years
And then the rest of the time you were in the area?
in Braintree.
Tell me a little bit about your immediate family.
My daughter, Kristen had a tumor, a cancerous tumor that she had for 5 months. She died in November of 13. She had 2 children,
13?
and then 2 months after she passed, her husband passed from a heart attack. And then you all know about John. And then my son Paul is over there.
That was 2013, ma'am. Could I ask you about her children?
She had 2 children, Kaylee, who's now 17, and Patrick is 14.
Jesus
He's a run for my money.
Christ.
Do you remember how old the children were when your daughter passed?
3 and 6.
Yeah, this is the first time
Yeah,
she
it
has
is.
testified, and she's not a witness to anything.
Yeah, I don't know why she's on the stand.
Spark of life, maybe. I mean, try to make John more than a two-dimensional person. So they can, I think, have witnesses that kind of give you a fuller picture of who the victim was. But I do think that it is a more emotional witness than fact.
Bad fact, innocent defendant. Brennan knows it's his only chance for sympathy.
Yeah.
I agree.
When that happened, was there any plan for the children?
As far as
Or what was going to happen with the children?
when she passed
Yes, ma'am.
and when he passed,
Yes, ma'am.
my son decided to be the head guardian, and then we had I was the other guardian, and there was Steve's brother and sister were the other 2 guardians. There's 4 of us.
May I approach you to adjust the microphone?
Yes, please.
Oh,
Thank you.
talking too soft. Okay.
Yeah, she should be there for victim impact statement. What they're going to use her for, other than just blatantly tug on the heartstrings, is to say Karen showed up unannounced at the house the next morning.
But she didn't, though.
No.
I hate Brennan.
Well, did you guys
Did I
notice
understand that
when,
it was a decision that John would be the
when she was asked to talk about her children, the child she picked first was her daughter. Then she talked about John, and then Paul was just over there.
Well, that's the order of their birth, I guess. So she went.
Still, it does seem that she is still very much grieving her daughter's death.
Well,
John,
yeah.
she didn't have as much emotion, and then Paul was, well, just there, which, I mean, he's Paul.
I'm not so sure they're at.
Yep.
They're having the best relationship at the moment, her and Paul.
Apparently, they don't like each other.
Oh, I did not know that. I was just, again,
primary
I
guy-
haven't kept up with this as much as you guys. So casual
Yeah.
observer.
Carrie said Mom O'Keefe was in the car on the way to the hospital. Maybe that's why. Yeah, she can talk about, oh, I saw his body, and but it's such a stupid, non-necessary witness in a case that's already going to be 14 weeks long.
Guardian? Can you share with us how that decision came about?
Well, he was single. The other two guardians were married, and they didn't have children, but he decided to do it himself. And then I was the second one in case he needed me. So I was over there most of the time, like when the kids get home from school, or, take them places, and then have them on weekends so he could have a break. So that's what I did.
Did other people help out in addition to you and John?
Yes, my husband was there, and Paul and Erin were there, and the other members of Steve's family.
I understand at some point John worked in law enforcement.
Yes.
Besides that, could you just share just a little bit about him with us?
He was a police officer at headquarters. And when he first started, he was in Hyde Park, and then he moved to Dorchester, and then into Boston itself, and that's what he did.
I was hoping if you could tell us a little bit about John besides his work.
He was enthusiastic with sports. He was wonderful with the kids. He took care of them and did everything for them. Take them places on vacations and everything. He was their number one, and they called him JJ.
Oh, yeah, let's get JJ back in. We haven't heard him in a long time. They called him JJ.
Mind if I showed you a photograph?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
This is Peggy O'Keefe, the mother of John O'Keefe.
I'm showing you a photograph.
Okay.
And could you tell us what you see?
That's my son?
Thank you. May I introduce this as an exhibit?
Yes.
Thank you. With the court's permission, I'd like to publish.
Yes.
Ms. O'Keefe, do you know when this picture was taken?
Oh. I really don't know. It was in the summer of I don't know what year. I really don't know the year. But is that one he probably took him to a fair or an amusement park, and he had his picture taken there with it. And then the kids were with him too. So.
Do you know how old he was in that picture?
43, maybe.
What year was John born?
75.
Ms. Gilman, could you take the photo down, please? How old was John when he passed?
45. My mind's not working right now.
I understand. It's okay.
That's
Can
what
I
you
ask you
want
a
to
few
hear
more
out of your
questions?
witness.
You let me know. I want to go back to the morning of January 29th, 2022. Is that okay?
Your son was
you home?
46 years old when he passed.
I was home in Braintree.
In Braintree.
Mhm.
Who were you with?
My husband.
Did you receive a phone call?
Yes, from Carrie Roberts. It was about 6:15, between 6:15 and 6:30 in the morning.
Did you know Carrie Roberts?
Yes,
How did you know her?
she lived in Braintree for a while. John and her were friends. They went to the junior prom together. And then we found out that she moved. She lived in Canton, and she was around the corner from us, and
Went
she
to the
helped us
junior
out.
prom together? So there was a love interest at one point in time, huh?
When you
Weird.
Almost
Shocking.
like, I don't know. I'm thinking 8 to 9 inches, and all these ladies are just pining because everyone he dated are all in love with him for life. I think it's what's his name from SNL? That crack.
Oh, Pete
addict
Davidson.
Pete
Yeah.
Davidson, that guy.
I think it's the same thing with John. He must be slanging. He must have been slanging at least 10 inches because all these ladies are. Can we get back to him?
helping take care of the kids, would you often see Miss Roberts?
Yeah, because she'd take Patrick and her son Ryan places. And yeah, so I saw her all the time.
Often?
Yeah.
When she called you that morning, do you remember the conversation?
Yeah, she said John was found in a snowbank. And I didn't understand, which I said, what do you mean found in a snowbank? She said, they found him in the snow. They don't know what happened. She says he's brought up to the Good Samaritan Hospital. So she says, I'm going to come get you and Papa because I don't want you driving. I says, we can drive there. We both have 4-wheel drives. She says, no, I'm coming. So she came to get us.
Carrie said they didn't have 4-wheel drive.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And there
Carrie
wasn't
had.
this, Papa, I'm going to come get you.
No.
They were kind of loose friends, associates, according to Carrie, not went to junior prom, not I call him Papa.
Yep.
Nope.
In the first trial, she made it sound like they were close friends. This trial, she made it sound like they were barely friends. And now we find out that they were probably banging at one point in time.
Yeah.
Well, junior prom was
It took a while to get there because
Well, maybe you don't know. Maybe they were held back a few years, so it was okay.
fair.
the snow was bad. And in the meantime,
was
I had
25 in
called
junior
one of my
college.
nieces to find out because one of my other nieces worked at the Good Samaritan. I just wanted to know if she could find out anything about it. And I just couldn't get a hold of her. So when we get up there, they told us to sit in this room, and they would.
Are we sure that's a photo of his arm? That's
Bring us down shortly. So finally they said, okay, you can go down. So we started walking down the corridor. And as I'm walking down, I hear Karen Reed yell, Peg, is he dead? Is he dead, Peg? Peg, is he dead? And I just kept walking. And then I asked, I don't know who it was, a nurse or a worker at the hospital. And I said, what is she doing here? And she said, oh, she's being psych evaluated. So then they brought us down to the room where my son was.
what is she doing here? Well, she had way more to do with him than you did. Maybe that's why she's there. She's getting psych evaluated, and then we walked on. Why did you call her Karen Reed? Why didn't you say, I heard Karen yell?
I mean, I can speak as a parent. I probably wouldn't be in the most open mood to hear someone when I'm dealing with my own grief. So I can say quite unequivocally, I probably would be a cold, unemotional B word, like, why is she here too? If I'm honest, I would.
But you don't know. You haven't been told that Karen has a busted tail light. You just know John O'Keefe was found in the snow. Karen found him, tried to resuscitate him. And the first thing you're thinking is, what is she doing here? The lady who practically lived with him. And your first thought, no one had blamed Karen at this point. Your first thought is, what is she doing here?
Baker, I would like to revise my answer. I technically lied because I didn't understand the question.
Yeah. It's illegal to lie to the cops?
Only if you get caught, I've heard.
Why is the staff telling her about a psych eval? Yeah. Why is she not wondering why Carrie Roberts is calling her and say, hey, we found John, I'm going to come pick you up. But she's wondering why John's girlfriend is at the hospital. Girlfriend for 2 years.
Okay, I guess I hadn't factored in that she didn't know any of these things. I thought she had gone in and they had already started confabbing and working the narrative.
Well, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
He's bruised up. His eyes were closed. It's just not a good scene.
Okay. I'd like to go back, if I may.
Okay.
May I?
Yep.
When Carrie Roberts picked you up in the car, did anybody go with you and Miss Roberts on the drive from your home in Braintree to Good Samaritan Hospital?
No, we were the only three in the car.
Who was the third person?
My husband.
During the drive
gonna-
to Good Samaritan
she's
Hospital
gonna,
that morning,
Yep.
did you ever have a chance while you were in the
talk
car?
about how great the Alberts are and stuff, isn't she? She's
Yeah.
gonna boost the reputation of all the lying ass witnesses that are getting exposed on the stand.
They helped tremendously after.
Yeah,
They were saints.
they were
To
super
speak
helpful.
to the defendant.
Yes.
Please tell the jury about that conversation.
She, I asked her what happened, and she said, we went to a party. I left him there. I said, you just left him there? She said, yes, I just left him there.
Did she say whether she left
Grown-ass
him
man.
inside or outside?
No, she just said, I left him there.
Did she tell you whether or not she left him in the driveway or the street?
She just said, no, I just left him there.
You told us that when you got into Good Samaritan Hospital, you were walking down the hallway and you had another interaction with the defendant.
Yes.
And you told us that she was asking if he was dead.
Hmm.
Can you describe a little bit where in the hospital you had this interaction with her?
When they took us down to the emergency room, the doors open, and there was a corridor to go down to the other rooms, and she was on the left-hand side, and that's when she saw me come in, and that's when she started yelling, is he dead, Peg? Is he dead, Peg?
So when she was yelling, could you describe her mood or demeanor? Was she animated?
She's loud, and I don't know, she was just loud, and as she was saying it.
And when she was asking you, is he dead? Is he dead? Did you again ask her a question?
I just asked the nurse, what is she doing here?
And did you speak to Miss Reed herself?
No.
At some point, and you and your husband got to see John?
Yes.
And were you with Kerry at some point?
Sorry, let an F word slip. Swear jar. Thank you, Marissa.
Kerry was there, and then my son Paul was there.
How did you get home?
I think I went home with Paul, and I think my husband went home with Kerry. We went back to Canton at the time.
Do you remember generally the time frame? Was it morning, afternoon, evening?
No, it was morning.
Do you remember getting home that day?
Yep. It was snowy, icy.
Was anybody home when you
No.
got back?
No, it was just us. And then the kids started coming home. And that's when I was trying to, take care of them. And then there was a knock at the door. And it was Karen, her father, and her brother asked if they could come in. And I was just trying to calm the kids because Patrick was just out of control, yelling. And then they came in. And then he said, do you mind if we go upstairs and get a couple of her things? Which I never should have let them go up there. But
This should not be allowed to be said on the stand.
Patrick was losing his mind yelling about what?
Yeah. And I should never have let them up there. This is highly prejudicial. I hope there's an objection coming up right now.
No
at the
shit.
time, I just couldn't think straight. And I really didn't have anybody else to help me keep them down in the kitchen. So I don't know what they got up there, what they did up there.
Speculation
How long were
much?
they- when you say upstairs, do you know
Yeah.
what room they went to?
I assumed the bedroom.
So I'm going to strike that, Mrs. O'Keefe. If you could just, what you actually know. Okay, and Mr. Brennan can ask a better
Brennan's
question.
such a sleazy
Thank you. Could
fuck.
I lead a bit?
Oh my god, man.
This lady is there only to shit on Karen's reputation and to uphold the sainthood of the McAlberts. And now he's asking if he can lead. You prepped this witness yesterday. I'm pretty sure you might even have had breakfast with her today to make sure you get all the sound bites you need. I really hope that
can't
Bev is
take
saying,
Brennan.
no, you are not allowed to lead. You can ask the questions.
I really can't stand Brennan, man.
I'm missing Lally.
Yes.
Ma'am, how many rooms are upstairs in John's home?
1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms and an office. And off the master bedroom, there's a bathroom, and then there's a closet. The big house.
Did you see the defendant and her father go upstairs?
I didn't really see them go up, but I knew they were up there because I could hear them.
You didn't follow them up or go to look?
No.
You didn't know which room or rooms they were in?
No, I'm assuming the bathroom and the master bedroom.
My question was more, you didn't see which rooms they actually went in?
No.
How long was the defendant upstairs in John's home with her father?
I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Did you see them come back down?
No, I did not.
When they were upstairs, what were you doing?
I was trying to calm the kids.
Both of them?
But yeah, well, mainly Patrick.
How was Patrick reacting?
He was very upset once we told him because he slept over a friend's house the night before, and he just said, "I'll never see him again."
Yeah, where's her brother if the other two were upstairs? Was he down there blocking them?
Sorry.
Would you like a moment?
I feel
Mrs.
sorry.
O'Keefe, would you like to take?
I feel sorry for her loss, but I don't feel sorry for what she's doing now. This is
It's
spite
not
and
even-
hatred.
It's not her. It's Brennan. It's Brennan taking advantage of an old grieving woman.
Yeah. Who has been filled with lies for 3 years that she believes because she can't accept that the people she's trusted right after John passed away might have something to do with it.
Take a short break.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
You can just let me know when you're ready. Take your time.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Mrs. Bell.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Hey, baby.
That morning, when the defendant and her father came into your home, did you personally interact with the defendant?
Nope.
Was there any hugs, condolences?
Nope.
There's no way that this woman
Did you ever?
grief has manifested all the way through, right? Like the stages of grief, acceptance. This case is still pending. She feels that Karen Reed's responsible for the death. She's going to be full of just piss, vinegar, hate, and anger. This is this is sleazy of Brennan. This is extremely sleazy of Brennan.
This is one thing. This is one thing I don't like. One, that he does it. Two, that she allows it. Three, that statement she made first with her husband. The first one, kind of funny joke. The second one instantly made me think of her as an asshole.
Yeah, they're whatever they've got going on in their marriage. I'm glad I don't have any part in that.
Yeah, they
They're
are
not
just
happy.
together because it's
Well,
easier
it's been
on paper
50
and for
years.
tax reasons.
Yeah, it's been 50 years. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and second of all, no hugs, lady. You just asked at the hospital, what's she doing here? Did you go over to Karen at the hospital and said, Karen, what happened to John? I just heard. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know how much you loved him. Or did you just say, what's she doing here? And then walked on.
Bitter old woman.
Exactly, Eddie.
Confront the defendant with any accusations when she
Sue from Boston, blah, blah, something, does it sometimes, but they're not allowed to do it. So how she did it yesterday, I don't know.
was in your home that morning?
I don't even remember her being in the house. When she went upstairs, that's the last I saw of her.
Did you ever lean over a kitchen island? Do you have a kitchen island in your house?
No.
Did you ever lean over the kitchen island and say, I think he looks like he got hit by a car?
No. I
What?
don't remember talking to her that morning.
Did you see when she left?
Nope.
Did you ever see her Lexus in the driveway?
Nope.
So why are you on the stand?
The children, who's their guardian and custodian now?
Well, there's still four of us. Four of us.
Where do they live?
One in Boston, one in Stoughton, and Paul's in Bridgewater, and me,
Where do the children live?
with me, in Canton.
They live with you full time?
Yes,
You're their primary caretaker?
yes.
Thank you.
This was slime. This is why when I talked to other lawyers, I had a guest on my show. I said I don't like Brennan, and I don't think his style will work as a prosecutor. He is the slimy defense lawyer, and he can't go beyond that. This is defense lawyer tactics. I don't like what he just did. He is out to trash Karen Reed by using a like Val said, a woman filled with piss and vinegar.
Ugh.
Yeah, just a little.
Oh, they are going to cross her.
They got to a little bit.
Oh, shit. Yes. I think we'll see her hatred come out.
Oh yeah, she absolutely hates the defense team, without doubt. They're trying to figure out how to best go about doing this. I think
I would use Mrs. Little for this one.
I would too. Look at her. She's
Mrs. O'Keefe, I'm very, very sorry for your loss. I have no questions for you.
that a boy.
All right, Mrs. O'Keefe, you're all set.
Thank you.
Right, so court officer.
I figured they were going to ask about the just
Or on
showing
that zip drive.
a little bit, but
Both,
Can you explain?
both clips 4 and 5 are on that zip drive.
Okay. 17.
The missus
There's
is
no
yelling
objection
at
to these?
you sent me a text.
I don't know what they are.
I didn't see it.
Is there a second, please?
She is pissed she got stuck with the kids. Free Zachariah Anderson. Yes, she is. And you could tell. And why is Paulo Balls, who is the youngest of the kids, not stepping up to the plate? Oh, we know why. Because he didn't even want his own kids, according to the text he sends to the glazed donuts.
Ouch.
And why is that Solomon sister in the courtroom? She's the godmother. Yeah, he was the godfather of their kids.
John was.
Don't film her when she having an emotional episode. That's just too bad.
Oh, Brennan.
Short
fall.
recess.
Your
Hopefully you'll
recess.
get to walk right through the first session of courtroom this time. Thank you.
Court, all rise, please. You're close your notebook to follow me.
After he got caught and she leaked it to Turtle Boy. Yeah, and why is she sitting so close? That's Turtle Boy's girlfriend.
That was the girl that Karen Reed caught John O'Keefe making out with in Aruba.
No, he was talking about the hot girlfriend, a hot blonde behind Karen's parents. That's Turtle Boy's girlfriend.
All right, so I'll watch the first
Oh, it's not a Sullivan sister. It's a key family member. Thank you, Janine.
Oh, really?
one, then I'll hear your argument, Mr. Brennan and Mr. Jackson.
My bad.
So, Ms. Gilman, if you play that first one, please.
They had pulled into the driveway before me, so I was presuming she saw my cracked taillight. I was thinking, did you hit my son? I could sense from her that she was looking at me very warily. And then John's nephew came home. I just wanted to see him and squeeze him. It was quite uncomfortable. I sit down upstairs to the master bedroom. I said, I think I need to leave because I think John's mother thinks I did something to John.
All right,
Out of context, highly prejudicial. I wouldn't allow it in.
so tell me why I should admit that clip.
You should admit this clip because it demonstrates consciousness of guilt. On the morning of John's death,
What?
Miss O'Keefe sees her son at the hospital and goes back to Mr. O'Keefe's home. In the driveway,
Sorry, are you functional retarded? She said, I felt like she was blaming me for John's death. That's not conscience of guilt.
That's like the fifth one of those clips he's gotten in, and I understand that it was speculated to. That's not the word. What's the word?
Yeah, she was speculating that Peggy didn't like her and she wouldn't. Oh, dude.
is the alleged murder weapon, the Lexus with the broken taillight. It's the middle of a snowstorm, and a prelude to that is there is a phone call from the defendant's father to the Dayton police looking for a ride to go in and see his daughter at the Good Samaritan Hospital. He's looking for a police ride because the weather conditions are so terrible. When the Dayton Police Department declines that ride, he gets the assistance of his son and his son's wife pick him up and bring him to the hospital. At the hospital, there are a number of comments made. I think I hit something. There is evidence we have where defendant, her mother, and her father admittedly discuss in different ways the broken taillight. It is an issue that is primary on their mind. In this tumultuous, grieving moment, the taillight is central between these parties. Uninvited,
Peggy never saw the taillight, so this is not between those parties. Peggy didn't see anything.
There was actually absolutely nothing relevant that she testified to, other than
and now it's
Karen came
relevant
in the
because the taillight is the big thing between these two parties. We need a lawyer to tell me how this is conscience of guilt.
uninvited, the defendant and her father go to the O'Keefe house without invitation. They knock on the door and they ask to come in. They go into the house. There does not seem to be any interaction, at least with Peggy O'Keefe. And curiously, they go upstairs.
That's not curiously. That's where she kept her stairs. She lived at the house. I hate this guy. I hate Valhalla. I'm quitting.
I hate him.
You take the rest. See you in 16 weeks.
They stay at the house for less than an hour. This is a family that's grieving the loss of their son. Less than an hour, they go back outside. Instead of leaving in the one car, they take the alleged murder weapon. They get into two cars, and they drive away and remove the Lexus with the broken taillight from the scene.
Much like you asked Carrie Roberts, nobody told her she couldn't take the murder
weapon from an area where witnesses can see, photograph,
What? No one believed it was the murder weapon. She didn't believe she killed him. And she's then that stupid that instead of leaving it in front of the O'Keefe's house where she could have possible deniability and say, well, someone at the house could destroy it, she picks up the murder weapon, drives it to her parents' house where she takes up residence, and the police picks her up 4 hours later, 6 hours later, with the car out in the open where every single person in the world could go past and see the damage to the car. What?
She wasn't even supposed to stay there that night, right? She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to. She wasn't prepared to stay there. I'm sure she had a couple things that she planned on taking back home with her the night before. I'm sure she needed stuff at the house from her house, like her actual house. It's a weird situation, and Brennan's trying to make it sound like it was all this guilt, all this proof of misdeeds.
She has her unmentionables at John's.
Right.
Maybe they have some fun stuff.
Right.
Maybe they have a little fun stuff that she doesn't want his parents to find. Maybe she has a packet of medication that she needs. She lived there part-time. And now she took the murder weapon away. Then she's the smartest criminal to hide the murder weapon, but she's also the stupidest criminal because she then leaves it out in the open, opens the door to the police. Don't call a lawyer. What?
Identify the damage. In fact, despite the other evidence about the cracked taillight in the testimony, it is a centrally contested issue in this case. The defense is already questioned and confronted, as they have a right to do, about the shape, manner, and extent of that broken taillight. The removal of it is helpful for the defendant. And so
it's not
the fact that they stay.
The removal of it and driving it into a pond or sliding out and hitting a tree and saying that's how my taillight cracked is helpful. Driving the
Right.
fucking car back to her parents' house, putting it outside without destroying evidence is not helpful.
Why would she not take her car? Like, you expect her to leave her car at John's house and just walk back to her house? Like, what? How is
She could
what
just
is she
drive with
supposed
her
to do?
brother.
And then
This-
not have her car? She'd have to get a ride back to get her car later? This is the stupidest fucking argument I've ever heard, Brennan.
For less than an hour, remove the Lexus from the scene is important.
And this is not the scene. Remember, the only scene is at Fairview 34 because you claim there's no need to give them the video from the Sally Port, which was the scene. You're so full of shit.
Statement by the defendant is clearly an attempt to create an excuse, a ruse, for
It's
why they removed
absolutely
the murder
not.
weapon from the scene. It is an attempt to suggest that she somehow is targeted. She somehow on that morning is victimized. She somehow on that morning.
She's
God, I
so
hate
smart that she
I
doesn't
hate it
hide
so
the
much.
evidence, but she takes the evidence with her. But she doesn't call a lawyer, and she Googles a DUI lawyer. She's not Googling a murder expert lawyer. When the police calls her and says, "Can we have a talk with you?" She's so smart that she hides all the evidence or tries to hide it. But she then don't lawyer up till the police calls her. You can't
hate it.
have the smartest and the dumbest criminal be in the same body. This is fucking hell.
Is the intent or the object of something that is abusive from Peggy O'Keefe. And so this evidence will demonstrate a key part of our consciousness of guilt evidence on this issue, that there was no viable reason to take that evidence from the scene other than to obscure it. It was not because Peggy O'Keefe yelled at her or intimidated her or threatened her. This was,
Why didn't you arrest
again,
her father
a
if he
central
ate it?
conversation between
Aiding and
her,
abetting.
her father,
Thank you, Lord.
and her mother in those early morning hours. This is what was foremost in their mind. And so that's why it's not only relevant, it is an extraordinarily strong piece of the conscience of guilt evidence. And inevitably,
Most people
may or
keep
may
their
not
car at the
provide some
foremost
type
of
of
their mind,
explanation or
Brennan.
excuse, but we have a right to the full force of our proof, and this is part of it.
This
I have
is
to go to
part of
another
shit,
town.
you idiot.
I got to go to another town. Let me grab my bicycle. This isn't Denmark. We don't do that shit here.
With regard to the first clip, which is clip 4,
That's the only one we're discussing right now.
then in that case, now that I look at it and I see the transcript, I'll withdraw an objection. I don't care. It's not, I don't agree with anything Mr. Brennan just said. It doesn't go to consciousness of guilt. As a matter of fact, I think it very clearly shows the opposite. But
Okay, so there's no objection. So there wasn't an objection until I said, is there any objection to this? And then you all came to sidebar. I mean, they were just going to play. So there's no objection to the first clip, right?
yes, correct.
Okay, so let's hear-
I made an objection to sidebar. I'm withdrawing it.
Okay, so Mr. Brennan, play the second one, please.
Yes.
And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, "I think it looks like you got hit by a car. It looks like you got hit by a car."
Okay, so tell me how this comes in.
Similarly, conscience of guilt evidence, the defendant making what we allege is a
Hearsay.
false statement to try to excuse her conduct of removing evidence of a crime from the scene. This has additional import. It has two facets to it. One, equally as important for conscience of guilt in the first part, as I supported for clip number 4 or 5. Secondly, it is important because we've heard testimony from Peggy O'Keefe that this claim never happened. So we now have direct testimony that she did not have a conversation with the defendant, did not make these claims to the defendant. And so while also conscience of guilt evidence, it has.
Just don't rewind the last 10 minutes because you must have been working. It's important to get in that Peggy O'Keefe blamed her at the scene because then she took her car, drove it to her parents' house to hide the evidence of the murder. It's a conscience of guilt argument that she took her own car from a house she's not a permanent resident in and drove it to the house, left it out in the open in the parents' driveway. Didn't call a lawyer, didn't try to hide any evidence, but it's a conscience of guilt because Peggy O'Keefe didn't like her and she didn't like Peggy O'Keefe.
Ridiculous. The whole thing's
Could
absolutely
Peggy be
ridiculous.
lying? Could Peggy be misremembering? Peggy blamed her at the hospital. What's she doing here?
You think her memory is in the best state of mind the morning that
She
she
couldn't
finds out
remember
her
John's
second
age.
child is dead?
Oh.
As additional support from the previous clip.
Don't allow that in.
Jackson?
Thank you. With this video clip, Your Honor, it's very different. It has absolutely nothing to do with consciousness of guilt. The argument is baffling. How could that possibly be consciousness of guilt if my client is simply reiterating something that she believes somebody else said? This clip is obviously, very obviously, and strategically being used to try to vilify my client with something that's completely irrelevant. In Massachusetts, you can't call a witness just for the purposes of impeaching them. What this clip would be doing is purporting to impeach Mrs. O'Keefe, who just testified, I never said that. I never said it. I never leaned over the island counter. Never happened. So bringing this in would be used to impeach their own witness. And that's what can't be done in Massachusetts. With regard to consciousness of guilt, how does my client reiterating or stating that something that the victim's mother may or may not have said, how does that relate to consciousness of guilt? It doesn't. This is simply a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're trying to get it in because it makes my client look bad. They've just put on a very, very sympathetic and empathetic witness, John O'Keefe's mother, and they're trying to make my client, Ms. Reed, look bad by saying something that they perceive to be pejorative, in a tone that's pejorative about that very same witness. He's trying to, at this point, there is no issue about whether or not Peggy O'Keefe leaned over and said something about the car, being hit by the car. He's trying to create the issue so that he can put this video clip in. Has nothing to do with consciousness of guilt.
It's not for impeachment of Peggy O'Keefe. We don't take the position that Peggy O'Keefe is lying. This is a statement of the defendant. It's in the form of an admission or a statement, which qualifies for admission substantively, not for impeachment purposes. The defendant should not be able to pick and choose which of her statements do not look good for her and do not look bad for her. She made the statements, they're relevant to this case. It's not unfairly prejudicial. It's a statement that they embraced and they chose and they publicized, and it goes directly to the issue of consciousness of guilt. Just because it hurts, just because it's incriminating, just because it's difficult for the defense is not a basis to preclude it. It is an admission, a statement of the defendant. It's admitted.
She didn't say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She didn't say, I took the car because I wanted to hide that I hit him. She said Peggy O'Keefe was a bitch.
Substantively.
If that were true, Your Honor, then they would simply put in the transcript. They wouldn't need to play the video. Transcript is one line. And his mother leans over the kitchen island and says to me, I think he looks like he got hit by a car. He looks like he got hit by a car. Sorry. I think he looks like he got hit by a car. It looks like he got hit by a car. They just put that statement in. They want to play this because of its prejudice, because of the tone that it sets. It's not in evidence at this point. The witness who supposedly said this statement has denied having said it and said it never occurred.
Look at the smug face
far
on
more prejudicial than it is probative. If they want to simply use the transcript, that's one thing. But playing this video is simply being used to vilify my client because of the tone of voice she used in the clip. That's it. That's what's not allowed. That's overly prejudicial, and it's not relevant.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about this. And if I decide to let it in, you can let it in first thing tomorrow morning. I'm not going to let it in now.
May I ask for a ruling in the morning?
Yes.
May I introduce the one that was not objected to?
Yes. Do you want a consciousness of guilt instruction, Mr. Jackson?
No, we don't believe that
So you're in agreement that that statement just comes in?
we're not objecting. I'm not trying to introduce it. Don't put words in my mouth. I'm not trying
No,
to
I said you're,
but,
okay.
But I'm not objecting that it at this point, that it should come in.
Okay. We'll bring the jurors back and we'll do that. Tony, can they come right in or is it going to be 5 minutes? Can they come right in? Thank you.
Hey,
Yes, please.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce clip number 4.
Looking at me, stairs.
And he's just introducing it without anything. So what?
You solemnly swear the evidence you give to the court and jury in the case now and here should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thanks. You can do it.
Hi,
Yay!
stand or sit, however you're most comfortable, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, proceed.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes. My name is Nicholas Garino.
Why does he already look like he's about to cry?
Mr. Greeno, where do you work?
I work at the Massachusetts State Police at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
How long have you worked for the Massachusetts State Police for?
This is year 10 now.
How long have you been assigned to the District Attorney's Office for?
Since November of 2019, so 5-ish years, 6 years.
I want to go backwards a little bit. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did before you began working for the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes, sir. I was a Norwood police officer for almost 11 years.
So how long have you been in law enforcement between being a Norwood police officer and a Massachusetts State Police officer?
February of this year, started my 20th year in law enforcement.
Did you go to school before you became a law enforcement officer?
Yes, I went to Westfield State College, Westfield State University now.
Did you graduate?
Yes, I did.
Can you remember what year you graduated in?
Yes, it was 2003.
Did you have a particular degree from Westfield State?
Yes, I double majored. I've got a major in criminal justice and mass communications.
When you began as a police officer with the Norwood Police Department, did you have to go into any type of specific training?
I went to the police academy.
And how long is the police academy?
6 months.
Generally and briefly, what was taught at the academy?
How to conduct investigations, respond to calls. They did a standard field sobriety testing week, physical training, Massachusetts law and criminal procedure.
When you began as a Norwood police officer, were you a patrol officer?
Yes, I was.
And did you remain a patrol officer for the 10 or 11 years you were there?
Yes, I was also part-time in the detail office. But
What does that mean?
handling jobs when we're off, so filling details like road construction, I'm sorry.
When you left Norwood and began working with the Massachusetts State Police, based on your prior training, did you have to go through further training or were you ready to just begin?
No, I had to go to the State Police Academy for 6 months.
After you got out of the State Police Academy, were you assigned to a barracks?
Yes, I was assigned to the South Boston Barracks for my training, and then once my break-in training was done, I was assigned to the Holden Barracks near Worcester.
At some point during your time in your career with the Massachusetts State Police, did you start to receive any type of training in any specific field?
I'm sorry.
Did you receive any specialized training at the Massachusetts State Police after the academy?
Once I got into the district attorney's office, yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about what type of specialized training you received when you were assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office?
Yes, so I was hired by the district attorney's office. I do cell phone and computer forensics, as well as I'm a sexual assault investigator.
You suck at it, though.
I had prior sexual.
Sucks at it. He missed
For those of you who-
35,000 text messages in the Birchmore murder.
Yeah, for those of you who don't remember this wonderful guy, he is the tech expert who couldn't find any ring video really, and in the Birchmore case, lost 32,000 communications between Sarah Birchmore and her killer.
Trooper,
But-
whatever the hell his name was.
Farwell.
I can't remember his name. There you go, Farwell. Christopher Farwell, I think.
Matthew Farwell. But
His brother,
Close.
his twin brother, Christopher, was involved too. Also probably banged Birchmore.
yeah, don't compare Hanky to our friend Boosh Canoe. This is the guy who's now going to tell you, I'm such a good guy.
He's terrible.
Assault investigator school done, and I went for digital forensics classes as part of my now daily duties.
In order to work with cell phone forensics, did you have any particular background in it at that point?
I had taken some classes when I was at Norwood PD, but I didn't have any of the Cellbrite or Axiom classes that I do now.
We'll talk about those in a minute so you can give a little more explanation. Did you ever receive a specific
Did you know there was a
advanced
bug in the
degree
system?
in data forensics?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever receive any specialized further degree, a master's in data forensics?
No.
So your training came while you were a Massachusetts State Police officer through the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes, that's correct.
What type of courses did you take to learn about forensics?
The first one I took was
No, not shaking the phone. Driving along a hilly road makes it go upstairs.
Yeah.
Cellbrite certified CCO, CCPA is their intro course that teaches you how to use the program, how to extract cell phones using Cellbrite program.
There's a couple words I want you to help us understand.
Yes.
The first is an extraction. What is, as simple as you can,
Breaking news, Karen Reed charged with deaths of Princess Di. She was driving the limo 124 miles an hour backwards and blindfolded. Stand by for more news.
And a cell phone extraction.
Yes, quite literally is plugging the phone into specialized hardware or software, and it pulls the data from that device to make a digital copy of it, so that way we can load it up later to look at it.
So when you extract the phone through a download, it basically mimics the content of the phone, but it's in a different shell. It's in a different form than inside the actual phone itself.
Yes, exactly. That way we're not manipulating or changing any data while looking, because if we were to open the device, it would change data by going through the phone itself or computer.
When you plug it in, can you explain a little bit about what you're plugging it into?
Yes. So the main program and hardware that we use is GrayKey. It is, again, specialized software and hardware that once the phone's plugged into it, the software is able to extract the information if we have the passcode. If we don't have the passcode and the phone is supported, it's able to guess that passcode depending on how long. Like for an iPhone, if you have a 4-digit, it could take months. If you have a 6-digit, it could take up to 35 years.
So does the phone have to be accessible to actually do that download through GrayKey? Do you have to be able to open the phone with the passcode?
No. So if we don't have the passcode and it's supported, it can guess the passcode without making the phone useless after, say, for an iPhone, I believe it's 10 passcodes.
Is it a quicker process if you do have the passcode?
Much. It would take hours to download the device, depending on how much information's on it.
How do you ensure that the information that you extract from the actual device is accurate and the same when you're making a copy? How do you ensure the integrity of it?
So with GrayKey, it produces a progress report as it goes through its process. The only 2 fields that we can sort of amend in that PDF that it spits out is the ID number and then the investigator name. So after the data is pulled out, it creates a hash value, which is like a digital fingerprint for that specific information. So if you had gone in to edit or change it, that digital fingerprint would change. It would change the big long string of numbers that it attaches to that file.
The digital fingerprint, is that the same thing you're referring to as the hash value?
Yes, exactly.
And how do you ensure that the hash value of the product, the copy, is the same as what's on the phone?
You can run the zip file that it creates with the information into a hash calculator, and it will give the same hash as what is produced from the GrayKey PDF report. So if something had changed or there was an error with it, the hash would not be the same as what was given from the PDF. And that's how we know that the data was not the same.
So if you download a phone and it has a hash value, this digital fingerprint, and then someone was to manipulate the phone and remove anything, even a period, from that data, if it's run again, will the hash value change?
Yes, it would not be the same. Because
Even
it will
if
show.
it's just, I'm sorry, even if it's just a period?
Yes, any alteration to that initial extraction with that number, it immediately would change.
So if you have an item, a computer or a phone, and you put it through the GrayKey program, and you do an extraction, a copy, where do you store that copy of information if it's not on the phone that you originally have? What do you do with it?
So once the program pulls that information, we have to place it onto our secure server at the office, and we'll take any of the files that were given via the extraction process, and it's saved there for us.
And so you copy it on another link or another digital file?
Yes, we'll save it to the server at the district attorney's office.
Can it be put on a physical item, like a zip drive or a hard drive?
Yes.
If you put that download onto a zip drive or hard drive, how will you know if that information on the hard drive matches the same information you originally downloaded from the phone to the server through GrayKey?
Again, like I said, you could run the hash value of that file again to correlate it with the PDF that we were given once GrayKey has given us the information. So that's how you would know all the information is the same, nothing has changed.
So for example, if you download an iPhone and it has that digital fingerprint hash value attached to it, and you make a copy or multiple copies, is the way to test whether or not those copies are exactly accurate is to look at the hash value of each copy?
Yes, and copying the zip file would not change the hash value. The only way it would change is if you physically went into it and deleted information somehow.
So now that you have the item, say for example an iPhone, and you've downloaded it through GrayKey, which is hardware and software, and it's on a digital file, can you just open it up and start reading it like a report or a book, or do you have to do something else to it?
No, once it's pulled into that zip file, it has to be opened into another program, which there are many forensic tools, but the ones at the office we use are Cellbrite or Axiom. They're just two brands, and then those programs make that information readable so we can actually look at it.
So if you were to download a forensic copy and you were to open it up without using that subsequent software, would you be able to read or see anything that's on that data?
To be honest, I don't know because I've never opened one of those zip files to know what's actually in them.
After the extraction happens, after that copy made, did you mention this further software you would use to be able to actually read the data?
Yes, so that's Cellbrite and Axiom. They're two different programs, but those programs will make the information readable.
Are those the programs that you typically use?
Yes, they are. And there's other programs out there, but those are the two that we normally use at the office.
Are they commonly used in the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes, they are.
Are there other programs beyond Axiom and Cellbrite that can be used to decipher the information so you can read it?
Yes, there's many.
In your entire time with the Massachusetts State Police, have you used any other programs other than Axiom or Cellbrite?
To look at cell phones?
Yes.
We have Sanderson forensic software that can look at databases that are in the phone to look at information. I don't normally use those because I don't want to say, I'm probably not proficient enough that I would know this exactly means this, or I wouldn't want to confuse anything that I'm looking at.
When you look at the information after it's been through the extraction and then the analysis through the software, is the data still available if you want to look into the data?
From the zip file itself, sir?
Yes.
Yes, that's always available. It's, like I said, the data in the zip file that Great Key gives us is never changed. It's just being loaded into another program so we can see it. That's all.
The software that you use, whether it's Cellbrite or Axiom, does that do the work for you as a forensic examiner?
Yes, so it runs, as the program runs, I should say, it will bring up different tabs. So it'll say phone calls, chats, photos, the databases, all different things that Cellbrite, their software, has run to pull this information out to make it easier for investigators to find what they're looking for.
Beyond the initial report that you can look at and look for the information, if you wanted to as a data forensic examiner, could you look deeper beyond the production of those software programs?
Yes, you could.
Forensic data analysis, when you look at these tools that provide these initial reports, is that the beginning or does it dig deeper when you're a digital forensic analyst?
No, these reports are finding the low-hanging fruit in the proverbial tree. So it's showing you the stuff that the program has set that most people are looking for. As I said, the phone calls, the chats. If you need to go deeper into it, as I said, there's other software out there where you can pull these databases and try to go through the code to find what you're looking for. Once you find something, you would have to corroborate it with other evidence or data to make sure what you're looking at is exactly what you're looking for.
Like metadata?
Have you been involved in the download, extraction, and analyzing data on phones as your role with the Massachusetts State Police?
Yes, that's my primary role in the DA's office currently.
And how many years have you been in that role?
Since November of 2019, so 5 years now.
Have you worked on a number of different cases that involve forensic data?
Yes, I have.
Is there a routine or a practice in your present role when you make a copy about what process you use and how you produce it in a case?
I wouldn't say there's a normal process. It's all case dependent. A lot of cases we get, people want PDFs of the information, portable cases that we can create. So it's basically the portable program that I'm using. That way someone can find the information they're looking for, or I give the raw information if requested.
What's the difference between PDF form and raw information?
So Cellbrite can create a PDF form of every bit of information in the phone. It could be like a 10,000 page PDF. It literally just lists everything that's in there. If I create a portable case, as I said, that is basically like me giving you the thumb drive and it's showing you exactly what I'm seeing and you can click on the tab.
No, what he does, just to demystify all of it, he plugs in a USB, whatever you need for your phone. Then he connects it to a computer that has Cellbrite on it. Then he pushes clone phone. Then it'll download and it'll say, I finished download, and he will unplug the phone. And then he'll ask whoever needs it, do you want it as a PDF or do you want the raw data?
Yeah, he's completely dependent on the software involved. He has absolutely no idea.
He knows
how it
nothing.
Actually works. He's
No.
not.
It's
Yourself from your own computer. And then if I give the raw file, that means someone has to go in and load it themselves to look for it.
no.
Typically, when you are producing evidence or discovery in a case, do you produce PDF or the raw file?
As I said, it's all case dependent. Not all cases have forensic experts to come in to look at the information. So I'll supply whatever is requested. Normally the PDF or the portable case is what I give, but if more is requested, that's readily available.
And so the raw data, if requested, Do you provide that as well?
Yes, if requested.
In this case, were you involved in any type of forensic data extraction?
Yes, I did the extractions of multiple phones and analyzed multiple phones in this case.
Good luck with that, douchebag.
And it's on this one. What the fuck? These aunties are just retarded. I'm sorry. I know I'm not allowed to use the word, but they are absolutely childish. You want to bitch slap me? I bet you are probably either a 45-year-old chick who drinks way too much wine, or you're an emasculated 60-year-old man who really wish one of those 45-year-old chicks would notice you. You're such a little pussy.
Come to Dollywood in June.
I'll be in Dollywood.
You can get a chance at it.
Yes.
You mentioned that there's a software and hardware Reiki unit. Where's that located?
That's located in the Digital Forensics Laboratory, which is keycard access and all on. Excuse me, at the Norfolk DA's office.
Are there other cases or the multiple cases that are occurring at the same time?
Yes, we constantly have phones coming in and out and being worked on.
What if you have a phone and the gray key unit's being used? What do you need to do?
We need to wait for that phone to finish, because if we say we unplugged it, it would interrupt that data transfer and we could lose it. So we wait until the phone's done and then the next phone goes up.
Did you become involved in some way in this case?
Downloading devices, sir?
Well, I'm asking generally for.
Oh, yes, sorry, yes.
Were you involved in investigating this case as far as speaking to witnesses or going to the scene?
No.
Can you describe the best you can what your role was relative to this case?
Yes, so I was brought, as I said, phones from this case to have the data extracted and then have it ready in our Celebrate program for the investigators to look at.
Well, then she is a 45-year-old woman who drinks too much. I was right.
Nailed it.
She looks old. And again, I'm pretty sure she would break her hand if she tried to punch this big old fat body of mine.
I bet she's older than that. She's got to be pushing 60.
Yeah, she looks like it. But again,
She's got to be.
I love these tough guys online or tough girls. I don't want to, because I'm not a fighter, but I spent a lot of my youth drinking way too much. And I spent a lot of my youth being in bars I shouldn't have been in. I spent a lot of my youth getting punched in the face. And it really doesn't upset me that much if a 50-year-old lady is going to come up and bitch slap me. I will probably restrain you and give you to the police.
That'd be the most excitement you've had in 20 years, buddy.
Normally I have to pay extra to get bitch slapped.
At some point, were you provided a phone that you later identified as a phone belonging to Mr. John O'Keefe?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember when you were provided that phone?
Yes, it was January 29th, 2022, about 7:30 p.m. that night.
Do you remember where you received that phone from?
Yes, I was at the DA's office. I got it from Sergeant Buchanan and Michael Proctor.
Do you remember about what time of night that was?
As I said, about 7 to 7:30 p.m.
Thank you. When you received that phone, did you have the passcode?
No, we didn't.
Without the passcode, what were your next steps?
So the phone was placed in our digital forensics lab until we could get the passcode. I was told that a family member was going to be bringing it in so we could download the device.
Did you ultimately get that passcode?
Yes, we did.
And do you remember when you received it?
January 31st, 2022.
After you received the passcode for Mr. O'Keefe's phone, can you walk us through the process of what you did?
Yep. So once the passcode's obtained, we'll unlock the phone and then plug it into Gray Key, and then it's able to pull the full information from it without having to guess the passcode.
How long does that take?
So you plugged it in.
Again, depending on the size of the phone, a few hours.
After the information was downloaded, then what happened?
We place on our digital evidence server at the DA's office, and then if the phone is evidence, it would go into evidence. If it was a consent, we'd give it back to.
This
Yep, it's down.
all forensic data.
Yes, I have your own computer. Yes, we did. No, we didn't.
Without the passcode, what were your next steps?
So the phone was placed in our digital forensics lab until we could get the passcode. I was told that a family member was going to be bringing it in so we could download the device.
Did you ultimately get that passcode?
We place on our digital evidence server at the DA's office, and then if the phone is evidence, it would go into evidence. If it was a consent, we'd give it back to the person who gave it to us immediately.
Did this phone go into evidence?
Yes, it did.
When you downloaded the information through Graykey, which you said was the hardware and
bad.
software, does it
bad, yo.
produce a
Yes, Marissa, it was skipping because it skipped to live, and then I skipped back, and then I skipped forward to find the place.
report with that digital imprint?
Yes, it does. It produces a report from the time you plug it in to the process it completes, and then the amount of data, and then, like I said, that digital fingerprint hash value at the end.
And did you do that with this phone, Mr. Oakley's
Yes,
phone? May
I
I
did.
approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
No, he had the same passcode as I have for my luggage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You know, there's not a whole lot of humans out there that can put Rackets' nose to shame, but this guy's got it. This guy's got it for sure.
I'm betting Rackets turned off his stream when he saw this and said, I thought I had a big one.
Nose envy.
This one is also, it's way more hefty.
Well, it's got
There's some
like
girth to it. It's not
got
just
like
a
a-
skinny nose.
It's got like a crook to it.
Highlight.
Man, he could wreak some havoc in the evidence room.
I'm going to show you a document, sir.
How much cocaine did you find at the
Sorry,
site?
sorry. Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry.
2
Show it
ki-
to Mr. Leslie.
one,
My apologies.
20 grams.
But you only turned in 1 gram. Well, that'll happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm showing you a document. Could you look at both pages,
It was the passcode they got later.
please?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes, this is the,
I'll just ask you a couple
Oh,
more
sorry.
questions if you don't mind. What is it?
it's the Great Key progress report that they give once the phone extractions are completed.
Do you recognize that as the report that is attributed to John O'Keefe's phone?
Yes,
And does that document have that digital imprint, the digital fingerprint that you were talking about?
yes. So it's in, yeah. So it's here on the back. I just want to see if it was in 2 places. But it would be here for the, sorry, it's got cut off,
Why
but
don't I put it up for an exhibit so that we can show you?
Okay.
I'll ask you some questions.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce this as an exhibit, please. No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Is it 18th of March?
May I show that exhibit to the jury? May I approach the witness to show him the pointer?
Yes.
On this top button will be the pointer, the middle button will change the screen, so.
oh,
just the top button, please. Can you walk us
Yes, unless
through
it
what
is-
this report means?
yep. So here at the top, here it is. Again, it says Great Key progress report, and then it gives the report generation, date and time, and it is in UTC, which is, get the exact definition, universal time coordinates, I believe. So you'd have to minus 4 or 5 hours depending on daylight savings time. So this one would have been January's -5. 16/10 will be 1 noon, 12 o'clock for the actual time on the 31st.
Not for
As
those
we go
of us
down,
that
the
can do
base name
math.
is Johnny. The software version is the Apple iOS that was running at the time. Model number iPhone 11. And then if you were to look up the N104AP is also.
Did he say noon?
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
He can't even subtract 5
5.
from 16.
5. That's all he had to do. 16 minus 5, bro. That was all you had to do.
That's
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
Well, I'm not saying I'm a smart guy, but
I know 16 minus 5, though.
again, this is the guy that missed 32,000 text messages, but he is the guy who runs this system.
Unless he's going to rip this dude a new, he's going to turn that mark on his face into an actual hole.
Yeah, I really hope it's Alessi. And the first question is, buddy, what's 16 minus 5?
That'd be the first thing I asked him, just to fuck with him. Like, you're stupid, and I'm going to show the world how stupid you are.
And he did say minus 5 so the jury could hear it. And you know, there's one juror that's like me that instantly looks up and says, that's not right.
No, it's not.
32,709 text, just to be exact.
Model number. The unique device ID. This one is what Gray Key assigns to the zip file that it creates. Serial number of the phone, the unique chip ID, the Wi-Fi address, the Bluetooth address, and then the phone number. And then there's more information underneath.
Could we scroll that, please? Thank you.
This here is the IMEI, which is the International Mobile Equipment Identifier. It's not uncommon now to have multiple of those identifying numbers. The data partition size of the device, which is 83 gigabytes. The lock state, if the phone was locked, it would say locked. This one is unlocked because we have the passcode. This was the Gray Key agent version for the software. And then
Why does John?
this is the last time that the phone was backed up via iTunes.
Sorry?
Why does John O'Keefe have an account on his phone called KK Furbush at iCloud.com?
It can't be Karen. Does he know anyone who KK who has a furry bush?
Coco, maybe?
No, she's Albert.
Well, she's KK for Coco, perhaps.
Maybe.
Ugh, gross.
But it's way funnier if we imply he has a girlfriend with a 70s afro.
Might have been
Or
one of the
iCloud.
Sullivan sisters.
This is the owner's name. You can have anything in this, but his phone had John O'Keefe set as the iPhone owner name, and then the different accounts attributed to the phone.
Okay. Can you show us where the digital fingerprint is?
Yep, it's down. So that the top part here is literally every time.
O-Line Red, why didn't you warn us beforehand? We blame you now.
This is your fault, Old Line Red. You did this,
Yeah.
not us.
Go back, erase that, and oh, it's because his niece was on his phone as well. Oh, it's so nice of her. Did you know her last name is Furbush? It's a beautiful, beautiful last name.
When it's plugged in to every process that it completes until the progress report is generated. Here is the full file system was created on this date and time. And then even though the partition size was 82 gigabytes, it actually pulled 125 gigabytes of data. Underneath this, if you're on the next page, is that unique fingerprints right here. So it has two, a SHA-256 and an MD5. They're just two versions of hashing to show that the file, they're unique fingerprints, and that's what these numbers are here.
Well, now
So
I'm
there's one
upset
for
that
the
they didn't.
image, the extraction.
Now I'm upset that they didn't censor that out. They shouldn't have showed that on the television.
No, if she still has that that account, then people can call, can text, email her.
Also, I don't think we knew their last name, did we? It wasn't like public knowledge from the trial. Way to go, Garino and Brennan. This is all your fault, you pieces of garbage.
LDR, Garino, and Brennan.
And then one for the keychain for the other documents that Gray Key creates.
And you mentioned that if anything has changed, even a period, that number and letter sequence will change as well?
Nope, Zach. Just nope.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Did you have an opportunity to download and extract any other phones?
Yes.
At some point, did you have an opportunity to download and extract a phone from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember when you received that phone?
I got the phone the same time as I got Mr. O'Keefe's phone on the 29th at around 7:30 at night.
And so you received both phones at the same time
Yes,
from the same people?
correct.
Trooper Buchanan,
Yes,
Trooper Proctor.
yes.
What did you do with that phone?
Again, that was brought down to the digital forensics lab for holding until we could get into it, or a warrant was written, or whatever legal process was going to be done, so we could get that information.
Do you secure it?
Yes, that room is locked.
He doesn't say gynecologist, and someone has. And I've been better reading Brendan's notes.
With keycard access that only myself and 2 others have, and it's also alarmed.
Do the case officers or investigators that aren't part of your unit have access to those items?
No, the only ones that had access were myself, Trooper Connor Keefe, and then the director, Samantha Vogt. She's a civilian that runs our lab.
Okay. And at that point, were you able, after there was process, were you able to get into the phone at first?
No, it wasn't supported by Gray Key, phone model and number.
What do you mean it wasn't supported?
So the software, even if we had a search warrant, we plugged it in, Gray Key wouldn't be able to recognize it because it just wasn't supported at that time.
Mo, where were you? You're the mom of the chat, and you made me and Valhalla do
save
that.
us. Oh, that was
I'm
terrible.
sorry. I was doing one of these things because I had forgotten about hash marks, and I didn't take my notebook with me, so I have nothing about Mr. Garagos here, or Mr. Girthy Nose here. So what did I miss?
Mo, let me ask you a question first. What's 16 minus 5?
Well, I didn't want to. We talked about this in private, but I didn't want to tell y'all, but I was the math consultant and directional consultant in this case, as evidenced by this math.
This is Trooper Carino, who missed 32,000 text messages in the Sarah Birchmore case. You didn't miss anything. They did an extraction of the phone, and he's the guy who plugs it into the computer and waits till it says ding.
Now, does he have a broken leg or something? Because I did hear Bev say that he could stand during his testimony.
I don't know, but he looked kind of like he had been at Taco Bell yesterday.
That'll do it.
Did he have a brown stain on his pants?
When you say it wasn't supported, does this have anything to do with a passcode?
For both. So we didn't have the passcode. So because we didn't have it, it wasn't supported for us to download that information from the device.
If you had a passcode, would it have been supported?
Yes, it would have been.
So is there a process when you have a phone that you don't have a passcode for to be able to access the content of the phone?
Yeah, jailbreak.
Yes, that's correct. We have to wait until we either have the passcode or the software and hardware is supported for the device where it can try to guess the passcode.
So let me ask you some questions about software. In forensic data analysis, does software change frequently?
Constantly.
When the software changes, does it advance?
Does the software get better?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
At the time you first had the...
I have Windows 11 on my laptop. It does absolutely not get better. It takes me 2 days to update that crack every time. My old Windows is running perfectly. The other one, every time I have to update it, it takes hours.
I think I have Windows. I don't know. I'll have to ask Mr. Mo.
Half the time they make an
consulting.
update, they will have to revise that update within a couple of days because there's so many bugs in it. It's just stupid.
defendant's phone, the software you had was unable to access the contents?
That is correct.
What do? Do you look for other software or do you wait for updates? What's the process?
If there is another software out there, we will use it to try to get the information. If not, we are at the mercy of waiting for the developers to come up with the information for us.
Did you wait in this case?
Yes, we did. We had to wait.
Ultimately, did software advance so that without a passcode, you were able to access?
Thank you, M. Spire. Have a great night and see you back tomorrow. And have a good night's sleep down under. Put some prawns on the barbie. No.
Yes.
Shrimps on the barbie.
Shrimps on the barbie. But they call them prawns down there.
Yes.
Very strange.
Yeah, that's why I need to say the correct, because or else it
Very
wouldn't be a
strange.
movie quote.
Wait, then how did shrimps on a
long
Barbie
did you have
get
to wait?
popular if it's prawns on a Barbie?
Because
Because-
it's
and also
a
nobody
Paul
cooks
Hogan
prawns on a Barbie.
advertisement from back when he was Crocodile Dundee, I think. He was hawking Australian shrimps.
No, I'd
in
rather
America.
watch that than this, but
That's why I keep stopping it and just talking.
before you were able to access?
I believe it was July of 2022 that the software had been upgraded enough that it was able to brute force or guess her passcode for the device
And where does the device remain until you're ready to try again?
in that locked digital forensics lab.
So when the software updates and advances, do you know that it will be successful, or you plug it in and you try?
No, so on GrayKey, they have like a link where you can click and it brings up a whole matrix. So it shows every make, model of phone, and then the software associated with it. And it says it can do a partial download, a full download, a password guess. And it tells us, so when there's a new update, we'll check that to make sure that the devices we have can be accessed.
Did you make an attempt to have the software access the phone without a passcode?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach, please?
Thank you. Did you use software inevitably to open the defendant's phone?
Yes.
And how many times did you download?
So there was 2 downloads, one, thank you. One of the partial part of the phone, and then we, in the same time that we had it plugged in, we had the password brute force guess software installed onto the phone, so we would try to guess the passcode. So there were 2 downloads, one with very limited data, and then one with the full file system extraction, which is everything on the phone that it can get.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to show you 2 documents, sir.
Dismissal, yes.
Oh, that's nice. You got him water. Bottled in Flint, Michigan.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm going to show you 2 documents that actually, the first one, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Is that a result summary from GrayKey for a search of the defendant's phone?
This is the initial extraction that we created before the password guess process went through.
I'd like to introduce this as the next exhibit, please.
No objection, Your Honor.
That's the original.
Yes, this is the first one.
Thank you. I showed you a second document. Do you recognize that?
Yes, this is essentially
By the great microdots. This is a picture. He had some filters on so he could find what was behind Kerry Roberts when he was testifying earlier. You should go follow microdots. He does a lot of great stuff.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed. Really impressed.
He's amazing with the. He made a lot of videos, and he's working with the defense team, but they weren't allowed to use it in the first trial.
the same information, except it goes further of all the password guess attempts longer until we actually get all of the information from the phone.
That'll be
This is the next exhibit, please.
in January, Brendan.
No objection, Mr. Leslie?
No objection, Your Honor.
20?
Could I have the previous exhibit as well, please? Sir, I'm handing you back exhibit 19, which was the partial download.
Okay.
Exhibit 20, which was the subsequent download. You mentioned hash value changes with the content of each download.
Yes.
Is there hash values specifically assigned to each download?
Yes, there is.
Are they the same number and digits in digital fingerprint?
No, they're not.
And explain again why they would be different.
Again, the first one was the partial. It was only 45 gigabytes of data. So it has one number. The second download was 109 gigabytes of data once you got the passcode. And again, that number is completely different again. And again, like I said, the information is not the same, so the hash values won't be the same.
Were there two other phones that you inevitably analyzed?
Yes, there were.
Let's start with the first one. Did you have an opportunity to create a file on a phone that came from Kerry Roberts?
Yes, I did.
Now, you said it's a two-step process. First is the extraction, the copying, and then it's creating the file.
That's exactly right.
With Kerry Roberts' phone, did you make the extraction? Did you plug it into the GrayKey?
No, I didn't.
I can only assume it must be in the reader, because the hash value on the phone should be the same at every download, because you
That's
are
what I
just
thought.
you're copying the phone. You're not actively changing the phone. So why should the hash value change? This is why.
Yeah, I thought the hash value went with the phone, not the whichever download. I thought that the hash value was like, this is what it is from this phone, from this project. And going forward, it would all be the same hash number.
Yeah, but even though it's just a partial download the hash value should be the same for every data point when they
I
extract
am
the full
so
value.
confused.
This is
Okay.
what Mo
Trooper
and
Connor
I,
Keith.
How do you know?
Mo and I know nothing about this. We'll just yell about it, and not a Russian bot will say, "You're wrong."
Trooper Connor Keith.
Alessio, clear it up for us.
He went to meet with Kerry Roberts, received the device from her. He brought it back to the office and did the extraction. His name is also on the extraction Gray Key progress reports as well. And he wrote 2 state police reports regarding it.
Do you work with Connor Keith?
Yes.
He works with, I'm sorry.
I would say we do essentially the same job working together.
Thank you.
So he's in your unit,
Yes, he is.
in the digital forensic unit.
That's correct.
That phone, did it come with any paperwork, any forms?
Yes, he had 2 signed waivers of consent from both parties for each device, one for each device.
And so as far as the copying, the extraction, you did not do the extraction on Kerry Roberts' phone?
No, I did not.
After it was plugged in and a copy was made, did you then access it?
Months down the road.
Were you assigned at that point to analyze or look at any of the data on that phone?
Initially, no.
At some point, did you create a file so that you could provide it to the parties?
Yes, I did.
Was that upon request?
Yes, it was.
And separately, did you know, or did you, let me ask it a different way. Was a phone from Jennifer McCabe extracted?
Yes, it was.
Did you do the extraction?
No, I did not.
Was the information after extracted again provided to a digital file?
It would have been, yes.
Did you, at some point later, did you make a copy to provide to the parties?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what a USEF reader is?
So the UFED reader is a portable case that I can create through Cellbrite. Again, like I said, it's the exact same program that I would be viewing if I was sitting at my desktop, and said it can be made into a thumb drive to give to defense, prosecution, investigators, whoever. And there's no chance for the data to be manipulated because it's just a reader.
When you have the digital file that's been extracted and then created into a PDF or a form that can be read, can you print the entire file on paper if you'd like?
Yes, you could.
Would that include, could you print it so it includes the entire content of the phone?
Yes, it would be thousands of pages, but yes, you could.
Is there any way to isolate particular things of interest that you might want? For example, if you wanted just the chats between 2 people, is there a way that you could have a program isolate just those chats and then give you all of them in a form that you could read?
Yes, so you can go in to cherry pick whatever information you're looking for to create into PDFs or other, it gives 5, I think, different mediums. You can have it output HTML, portable cases, XML files.
If you wanted to create a document that had a number of people in communications, could you do that as well?
Yes, you could.
So you can pretty much set the parameters how you want if you want to search for particular items.
Yes, it's very generous that way of being able to search for keywords, phone numbers, whatever it is, and then you can export that out into a PDF so you can print it.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Lally's like, did you ask if it was snowing?
So was that this?
Did you go through the program and create a number of documents that isolated specific information that you wanted?
Yes.
For example, did you go through and create a report for all of John O'Keefe's calls for a period of time?
Yes, I did.
Did you go through the program and create a report for all of the calls between John O'Keefe and the defendant for a period of time?
Yes, I did.
Did you go through the program and create a specific document that would show just the text messages between John O'Keefe and the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Did you go through the phone and create specific separate documents for communications, phone calls, and text messages between Mr. O'Keefe and other people, not the defendant?
Yes.
For example, Ms. Roberts,
Yes, that's correct.
Ms. McCabe.
Yep.
Did you go through any of the phones and create documents to show any text or conversation between parties not involving John O'Keefe?
If directed, I could, but I don't believe I did.
When you took on the task of creating these documents? Was it something you did on your own, or something that you would wait for a request from a prosecutor or another officer?
I would wait for a request. Again, my knowledge of most of the cases is very, very limited. So if they're looking for something specific, I can assist them. If they need some type of help, I can assist them. But normally I will open it up for them, and they have a better knowledge of the case, so they know what they're going to be looking for. Everyone in our office is Cellbrite trained. Or if someone new comes in, that's the first thing they'll go to is to a Cellbrite training, so they know how to use this program. And it doesn't put the burden on myself and Trooper Keefe to try to find everything for every case.
Thank you.
So
at this time, I'd like
Proctor
to
and Yuri
conclude
never asked.
this witness testimony to be recalled again.
Then
You
what
want
is
to
your
with that, Mr.
job?
Lacey?
We are, Your Honor, subject to the recall.
Okay.
He plugs in
You're all
phones.
set.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll see you again.
So they're chucking him out and calling him back again later, because that'll make a lot of sense for the jury. And who's Big Nose? Who's that guy? When he gets back in 4 weeks, and yeah, I remember everything he didn't say about Cellbrite.
Yeah.
Should I?
You could just leave them right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
quickly.
To the court, during the case now, you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
He must be a
May I?
constable.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Daniel Whitley, Whitley. I'm a paramedic with the Canton Fire Department. I've been a paramedic and firefighter there since March of 2000.
What? Why did
This
we
isn't
have?
one of the names we heard, right?
But why did we have gonorrhea come in and testify about he got Cellbrite education? And now we're going to Whitley, who will testify that I don't think, no, he was one of the ones who heard, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I didn't think so.
Was he? He might
I
have
believe
been,
he
I
was.
can't remember.
Flamati and McLaughlin and not all.
Yeah, I
thought
don't
it was
remember.
Flamati and Kelly. Or is he been saying Whitley this entire time?
He's the one who is crossing on Kerry Roberts. Yeah.
I have no memory of this guy at all.
Yeah, I don't remember him at all.
Maybe I remember him from something else. I've seen him in a picture or something. But
Was he in your last trial that you covered in Canton?
no.
Okay.
But everyone in Canton is bald and looks kind of like that old eagle in the Muppet Show, the blue one.
Yeah.
Hey, I love that one. Yeah. I think it was Sam the Eagle.
That might be.
Yeah. That's maybe I'm wrong, but this guy is in love with Kerry Roberts. But let's just again, because we'll catch up on a break. We start out with having an EMT. Then we go to Kerry Roberts. Then we go to the mom. Then we go to the Cellbrite guy who doesn't talk about what he found. And now we're going back to an EMT. I'm getting whiplash trying to figure out where we're going. Maybe it's to
He
keep
wants
us
to get those clips
on our
out
toes.
to do things. That's what it is. I betcha.
6.
Before you became a paramedic firefighter with the Canton Fire Department, did you work anywhere else related to that field?
Yes, I had 4 years full-time as a EMT intermediate, and also a paramedic at American Medical Response in Brockton.
Oh,
I'd like to take us right to January 29, 2022.
Yes,
Do you remember that day?
yes,
Were you working?
yes.
What was your role that day?
wasn't he the one who was shoveling the? I think he was the first one talking about shoveling the pavement.
At the
I was a field training officer.
fire station.
Yeah, right.
That could be. Could be. I was shoveling. Yeah. This is a weird.
Working on the ambulance with my partner, Jason Becker.
apron. He calls
Mr.
it
Becker?
Apron.
That morning, did you know whether there was a call where a group of your colleagues went to and addressed
Oh, he
34th
wasn't there.
Fairview?
Yes,
Were you accompanying?
He was the one who took Karen Reed to the hospital. With the
That's
testimony where
He
she
showed up
didn't
for the
really say
baker.
anything in the ambulance. She was just really distraught.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
your colleagues on that initial call?
no.
Where were you at the time your colleagues left to go to that location?
I was at the Station 2, Ponquag Station, on the north side of town.
Different station?
Correct.
At some point after that call came in and was responded to you, did you receive a call
Sometime after, I'm not quite sure exactly how soon or later it was, but we received another call to respond to that scene.
And as a result of receiving that call, did you make your way towards that location?
Yes.
Who did you go there with?
Just me and my partner at that time was Jason Becker.
What type of vehicle did you use to get there?
It was an ambulance.
What was the weather like?
It was snowing pretty heavily at that point.
Do you know about how long it took you to get to?
No, Jamie doesn't have a channel. She owns all of our channels. She is the mastermind behind the network called JNN, Jamie's News Network.
34 Fairview?
Not exactly, but definitely longer than usual. It should have been an 8-minute drive, I'm guessing.
Vampire Girl is on the witness list, but sadly she got PTSD from testifying at the last trial, so it's probably going to be bad.
10 to 12 minutes. You could refer to my partner's report for exacts.
When you got there, what did you see?
We arrived on scene. Our engine was there before. We run on a response with an engine and an ambulance to medical calls. And then at least 2 police cruisers and another car parked on the street, a gray SUV.
When you got there, did you meet with anybody?
Yeah, usually we get out, we say hi to my lieutenant and the other gentleman, Sam Parker, was on the engine before we got there. They were up front.
Oh my God, if I hear another
and then we walked down further, or at least I did, to the gray SUV.
When you reached the gray SUV, did you see anybody inside it?
I believe at that point we were kind of, getting out. We were walking down. They were coming out to greet us. There were 3 women there.
Okay. Did you speak to any of them in particular?
Not at that point. No, not really.
At some point, did you have any interaction with any of the women?
Yes.
In fact, did you know any of the women who were there that morning?
I knew Carrie Roberts.
How did you know Carrie Roberts?
First we're neighbors. She lives about 100, 200 yards away from me around the corner. And she helped organize a neighborhood block party, and I would volunteer every year to bring the fire truck to the block party until the kids fire truck for a little bit.
So you knew her well?
No.
Were you friends with her?
No.
Friendly?
I just would describe us as acquaintances.
Did you ever socialize with her personally, other than the block party?
No.
But you know who she was?
I knew who she was. I don't recognize her, yes.
Did you talk to her that morning?
Not beyond probably a pay or hi or something like that.
Do you know whether she ever gave you any items?
I know at one point I had to exchange whether it was a purse or a cell phone or some object from Miss Reed.
At some point that morning, did you have an opportunity to meet with the defendant?
Yes.
Where did you first see her?
We were in the process of getting her to go to the hospital.
When you say we, who was helping you?
That would be, my partner, obviously, Jason Becker, and then my lieutenant, Greg Woodbury.
Where was she when you first saw her?
Somewhere outside in the street.
Do you recognize her in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you identify her, please?
Yes.
Please. You're pointing to a person. Can you give just a very limited?
The woman standing in between these 2 gentlemen here.
Danny, I did it to
Did you
myself.
interact with her that morning? Have a conversation?
Here.
When you first started speaking to her, what was her demeanor?
Crying.
Stop it.
She was. We had a Section 12 in hand, which is a medical order or a police order to be taken to the hospital for psychological.
Thank you. Just stopping it for 5 seconds. I'm not ready to.
Did they do a bet when he left the fire station this morning? Say, hey, you know that really cool scene in Super Troopers? What if you say, can you say it 50 times? No, I bet I can say it 100 times. I sure
Now
you
he's
say,
going to say meow.
Yeah,
it's
meow.
instead of,
Meow from Super
yeah,
Troopers.
the next firefighter who's coming in is going to say meow.
Okay.
Like Jesus.
That's how we got
Some-
hematoba yesterday too.
Say
So-
and smack your lips one more time. Yeah, I'm going to turn this ship around.
Yeah, I can't. Baker, I thought I was going to be okay with the hashtags. I mean, I have, the inappropriately developed children's toy.
I have my
We're going to need a bigger mushroom. that's all I've got to say about this trial. If
That's
anyone
what she
would like to
said.
donate to a bigger squashable mushroom for
This
my
reminds me
sanity.
of one of the conversations I had with my ex-wife.
Oh my Lord.
Still more fun than this testimony. Kai?
This guy is the guy who took Karen to the hospital, and allegedly she asked, "How long can you survive in the cold?" That's what he's going to say is a big. She was very distraught, and she asked him, "How long can you survive in the cold?" That's what I can remember from the first trial. It was the big thing, but I didn't catch that. Did you at some point get a cell phone from Kerry Roberts? As a bag, something from Miss O'Keefe?
Purse or a bag or
from Miss O'Keefe. Nothing with Kerry Roberts, and he didn't really know Kerry Roberts. She did block parties at the, and he always brought the fire truck.
And ladies, he's taken. Can you imagine the witty repartee in the morning? Babe, it's time to get up. Not again. Not again.
The one, I don't know how it is by you guys, but like here in East Tennessee, I have a feeling that bringing a fire truck to a block party would not only be frowned upon, but it would be misuse of taxpayer dollars, and it would probably result in some people getting fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Karen Baker acted before or after meeting this guy? Well,
let's go.
Logical evaluation.
Did you discuss that with her?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ask her to follow you or to come with you?
Yeah, she did.
And did that happen?
To the ambulance, correct.
So you went to the ambulance with the defendant?
Yeah.
And was Mr. Becker with you?
Yes.
What happens when you get to the ambulance?
I mean, so it was snowing, and it was more to kind of just get everybody into a nice, warmer location where it wasn't snowing or windy or anything like that. And we would discussing that, you know, we have a Section 12 that states we have, you know, regardless of if you want to go, we have to take you to the hospital. She was arguing that she really didn't need to go to the hospital, and we were trying to convince her to go to the hospital because once the Section 12 is written, it doesn't matter what the patient says. We have to get them there one way or the other, whether it's cooperatively restrained or chemically restrained with sedatives.
It's not a voluntary order?
It is not a voluntary order.
Inevitably, did the defendant agree to go with you to the hospital?
Yes.
When you were going to return to the hospital, was the defendant placed?
First, let's
Dear God,
check for
I need
spit it out.
Your medical history. Are you know that word, that thing that you can't have it? What's that word? Allergic to any medication? And like, sir, he passed away 5 minutes ago.
Not again! Damn it!
Correct. So
they're never going to let me
we
take the
operate
fire truck again
for
if I don't save
anybody that's a
someone.
Section 12 or anybody that is under the influence of anything. We always operate with two people in the back of the ambulance. So myself and my partner, Jason Becker, were back there. And then we had to take somebody from the engine company.
Garino will be recalled later.
And have them drive to the hospital, and that was Sam Park.
Sam Bach?
Park, P-O-C-H.
Thank you. Before you left, before you started to drive away from Fairview, were you having any conversations with the defendant?
Yes.
Can you share with the jury what those conversations were about?
So we were talking. She was upset. She kept asking if there was any chance her husband could be alive, and even sitting outside in the snow with no coat on for many hours.
Did she indicate what many hours meant? How many?
No.
How often did she raise the issue of whether or not, or how long he could be out for?
I'd say at least 3 to 4, maybe more.
Part of your job is to care for patients?
Correct, yes.
Was part of your job to try to get them to the location safely?
Yes.
And sometimes you treat patients with physical injuries, don't you?
Oftentimes it is physical injuries, yes.
Are you trained when you're trying to transport somebody on how to interact with them?
Yes. Well, sometimes if they're upset, in this instance, she kept asking if there was any chance that he could be alive, and that we really didn't know what was the patient that ambulance 1 took. We really didn't know what his condition was, and but figuring that it was a hypothermia type case, being the conditions outside, we were trying to give her hope that there was a saying in the medical field, you're not dead until you're warm and dead. And we, it was basically the stories of children falling through ice and falling into rivers and being underwater for multiple hours and coming out, being resuscitated and having no neurological deficits. So I was telling her those stories just kind of to say, look, let's be sure we'll get to the hospital. We'll find out more there.
He just claimed that there was cases of children falling through river ice, being underwater for hours and being resuscitated with no neurological issues.
First of all, yes, you can lower your temperature, but for hours you would have tissue destruction by the cold. Second of all, you would have no oxygen because you're underwater. Did he meant some fall through, passed out, and then were?
I think there was I
He
think
just
it was
hurt
a
it
great
himself.
Christian movie about one of these things where a kid fell through the ice, and it wasn't for hours. I think they found him within the savable, non-brain injury kind of time.
It's like 8 minutes off the top of my head. I think it's like 8 minutes before you're having serious issues without oxygen.
Yeah,
Like
so I don't
serious
think it was like hours and they left him like an ice cube. I vaguely remember this being a big movie that they put in my church, but this does not, make comforting stuff.
Yeah, there's no way anyone is without oxygen for hours without, even though you're cooled down, so you might have some prevent. That's why clinical cryogenic blah 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 doesn't work, because the cold will kill your cells. That's why you can't keep meat in the freezer forever. It'll destroy the cells.
You can't?
Just trying to give her any sort of hope that her husband would be alive.
Steak from
Can you describe her
2001.
demeanor when she was in the back of the ambulance with you during your interactions with her?
Aging
She would go
90s.
from pretty upset, crying. One instance where she kept saying, "I can't take care of these kids. I can't take care of these kids. They're not my kids, and they're not his kids." And I, at that point, I understood who ambulance 1 had taken, because John was pretty well known in the town for taking on the care of his niece and nephew. So I said, "Listen, it's okay. It looks like you have a very strong support system." And then Miss Reed said, "Do you know Carrie Roberts?"
In the history of ever, you've just been in a, traumatical, shocking, trauma and shock kind of situation with this man. So what happened is I saw this movie once, where this kid was like dead for hours, but then they revived him. Would you get comfort from this man?
No. If I go by the cold water survival tips from the U.S. Army, 10 minutes till you're unconscious and 45 minutes till you will have hypothermia at the best.
That's if your head's above water and you can breathe. That's not underwater. Yeah. Yeah.
And she had been crying. And she picked her head up and said, "Do you know Carrie Roberts?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." And she said, "Anybody who knows Carrie Roberts wouldn't say that about her." And I said, "Well, she did come to out at early in the morning to look for your husband in a blizzard." And she just rolled her eyes and put her head back down. And I thought it was just bizarre.
Objection, move to strike.
I'll
That's
strike.
what yeah.
Would you describe her demeanor as even through that ride?
No.
How long did it take to get to the hospital?
You can refer to my partner's ambulance trip report. I'm sure it has the.
Do you have it right with you, sir?
I do not know.
Well, let me
Why
ask
did you find that
I would
weird?
guess about
You're weird.
15 to 20 minutes, somewhere in there.
You don't have an exact memory?
No.
When you get to the hospital with a patient under these circumstances, do you leave them at the door?
No.
What do you do?
We have to hand off care. So we go in and we have to give a report to a nurse. to let them know what their condition is, why they're coming to the hospital, and what we found taking them to the hospital.
When you got to the hospital with Miss Reed, did you interact with the hospital personnel?
Yes.
Do you typically, after you hand off a patient to staff, do you leave?
Typically, yes. This time, Miss Reed was, I'm going to say, not really cooperative with the nurse there. The nurse was asking her to get into a Johnny, give a urine sample. She was not cooperative. The nurse tried to work with her, had an ER tech go and ask the doctor if she had to get into a Johnny. She came back. She said, yes, she's a patient. She has to do all the normal stuff. We really didn't feel comfortable actually leaving the general area. I don't know if it was just shift change or what, but security wasn't there. And with her demeanor, we just didn't feel comfortable leaving the nurse by herself with Miss Reed.
You said that there was some difficult times. Was there some difficulty
Want to leave
about
the nurse
the
alone with
defendant
her?
accepting wearing a Johnny?
Yes, she was refusing to get into the Johnny, and the nurse kept saying, well, you got to get into this Johnny. The nurse did try to work with her and you know, asked the doc if.
I'll allow that.
And so the ER tech had to come back and say, yes, she has to get into the Johnny. And at that point, she did.
Can we stop calling it the Johnny?
Yeah,
It's
I've
either
never
the
heard
John
it.
or the toilet, and you are professional.
Or the gown. Yeah, I've never heard it.
You
I
will
didn't,
t-
I
and
didn't
remember,
realize that's what he was talking about.
Carrie
Like,
Roberts
what
was
did he
in
say,
such a
Johnny?
shock and horror. She couldn't remember for the next 5 months what happened, except driving Jen around because she became Jem's bitch. But this guy, no, she was acting erratically, and she didn't want to go to the Johnny.
Johnny's so stupid.
Yeah, why wouldn't you just say put a hospital gown on?
I
Put
thought it was the
hospital gown.
toilet.
No, they're asking her to put on a hospital gown, and Karen Reed is saying no. That's so Johnny. It must be a colloquialism up there, but
Oh,
I'm guessing.
One in
just
chat if you
context
knew
clue.
that Johnny was a hospital gown. There's
I thought they
18
were talking
people
about
sitting.
John O'Keefe.
There's 18 people sitting right here. Do they all know this is what they meant?
If they're
I've never
from,
heard that before.
Of course, Marissa knew.
Never heard that.
I'm
Yeah,
so
I've never
smart.
heard that before.
I was about to say if they're from New England, they would know. But
Yeah.
I like Kirk's answer.
I did know that. That I've heard before.
That makes the entire conversation so much funnier. Karen, just put on the Johnny. No, my tubes have
I
been
can't
tied. I
remember that.
refuse.
But why call it a Johnny? And it sounds like she's going to the John. I thought she had to go do a pee test, which I thought that's weird. Why force her to do it the instant she comes in? Maybe she doesn't have to pee.
I mean, literally,
it
I've
for a
just heard it called a gown. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it was never like a name like that. So yeah.
And can I ask a question? You are a very litigious country.
Yeah, we are.
If the security isn't there to take care of a patient, and this guy doesn't feel well about the nurse being alone with the Johnny, not complying Johnny woman, and he says, "Well, I'm going to force you into the Johnny." What's the chances he's going to be sued out of his job? Because I'm pretty sure he's not allowed to use force in a hospital when he had turned over the patient to the hospital staff. He has nothing to do after she's passed on, does he?
Well, also, couldn't this be? I mean, this is shading. This is prejudicial. Did he claim that Karen was uncooperative and they had security issues the last trial? Or is this new testimony that's been added?
No, I think he talked about helping the nurse out because Karen was so irate because she was screaming and hollering. But that's okay to be, because remember the last witness who was so much in shock and horror that she couldn't remember anything, but Karen was she was starting a fight. And water closet would be wicked cool. It'd be a wicked
Well,
piss
see,
off.
that's what
I
happens
think
when
it's
you
called.
listen to Pink on your way to the hospital. Karen was like, "So what? I lost my husband. I'm still a rock star."
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of people that get crazy when they're forced to section 12 or whatever. When they're sectioned.
I can promise you all right now, if somebody ever tried to Baker Act me, it would not be a smooth process. I
No.
would not go willingly.
I'd be arguing too.
Yeah, you're out of your goddamn minds.
To be fair, I'd ask
No,
what
seems-
kind of pudding they were having before I decided.
Calm
it
down
was.
and
Like,
Yeah.
Paprika,
was getting into
it's going
Johnny.
down.
Security personnel had shown up, and we felt comfortable being able to kind of leave the nurse and the tech on their own.
Before security came, was there difficulty in her providing a urine sample?
I
Do you know the answer?
He's not a police officer. He's an EMT. That's why I'm saying he has no right to physically restrain her unless he's doing it as a part of his job. Yeah.
can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
Why don't you ask it a little differently?
Sure. Do you remember whether she was giving the nurses a hard time about a urine sample?
Yes.
Who
So
wouldn't?
break that down, Mr. Brennan. The objection sustained.
You said that she was giving nurses a hard time.
She didn't want to give a urine sample. And then the nurses kept asking her to, this is the cup, you pee in the cup.
Oh yeah. Who
She's
wouldn't?
being
Oh my God.
acted. She just lost her husband. The first thing they say is, "Here's a red Solo cup. Piss in it." Is this how you treat someone who just found her boyfriend dead at the side of the road? Yeah. Warrant, please.
Yep.
No one going along.
You were there and saw this, right?
I saw it, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I mean, if they're sectioning her, I can understand that's the process they have to do. But don't say that her being irate is a big deal. That's the whole thing.
No, but yeah, as Totally Russian says, they're Baker acting her because she's so irate and potentially suicidal. But she is not cooperative. Come on now.
Yeah,
she's hysteric and she's running around and she doesn't want to piss in a cup. What
I would
the
actually
hell
like
is
to
this
know,
about?
I would actually like to know the percentage of patients that get Baker acted that are cooperative, because I bet it's pretty low. If I'm taking a shot.
I just remembered a time where I may have pulled a Karen Reed. So with my third child, my doctor was telling me that my blood pressure was dangerously high. And because I'm too type A to function, I was like, look, I haven't planned on going to the hospital for observation. So I refused to go. And they're like, we are walking you down there. I was like, I don't have this on my schedule. So I got over to labor and delivery, and the little nurse was like, we're going to check you. And I was like, no, I'm not taking my pants off. I'm over here under protest. That night I had my daughter. So I was in fact in labor.
Taking your pants off was what got you there in the first place.
Look, I may have, like I said, I'm not always good at the planning part of these things.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So you knew before you got into.
But the problem is she's hysterical because she was at a crime scene. This guy picked her up from not a crime scene. She was at a scene of her boyfriend's death. So he knew, and he could have told the nurses, hey, relax. Her boyfriend just passed away. He's upstairs, frozen stiff like an icicle. But no, I had to stand there and protect the nurses.
Ambulance 2 that you were heading to Fairview Road for what is called a Section 12, correct?
We were dispatched for a Section 12, correct?
Right. And that was not your first call for a Section 12, right?
No.
You had been in that job since 2006?
Yes.
You've handled a number of them over the years, correct?
Correct.
The fact that the call came in as a Section 12 gave you some idea of the nature of the issue that you might be dealing with, correct?
We had an idea that it was for a psychological issue.
Right. It told you that somebody at that location was suspected of being in some type of either psychiatric or emotional distress, correct?
Yes.
And on your crew, or of your crew, I should say, you were the one to drive the ambulance 2 to the residence, correct?
I drove to the address at Fairview.
Now, you've said that when you got to Fairview Road, you don't recall the time, but you do recall that there were still emergency vehicles on scene, correct?
I do.
There was nobody lying in the front lawn of 34 Fairview at that time, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how much later after 6 a.m. you would have gone there?
You'd have to refer to my partner's report.
You don't know if it was minutes or hours?
It was minutes. It was within the hour. I don't know.
Within the hour.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said that there were, or you testified that there were 2 police vehicles on scene, correct?
At least 2.
At least 2. There could have been more than 2.
It certainly could have been.
And those police vehicles in such a situation, particularly with the snow falling down, would have had their blue lights flashing?
I'm not exactly sure if they did or they didn't. Sometimes the police shut off their lights when they arrive on scene. Sometimes they don't.
Okay, so you don't have a memory one way or the other?
No, nothing sticks out.
But those police vehicles certainly were not hidden. They were in plain view, correct?
I would say so.
Minimum of 2, maybe more. Correct?
Yes.
And there was also a gray SUV parked near that residence?
Correct.
And there was a fire engine there as well, correct?
Correct.
You called it our engine, right? That was from
well, it would be engine 3.
Engine 3 from
or at
your
least
station.
the station 1 engine.
I'm sorry?
The station 1 engine. So Canton Fire has 2 fire stations.
Rubia, go back and watch Carrie Roberts' cross-examination from this morning, but take your meds before you do it. You will, and then go and see Brennan argue consciousness of guilt. I will not be blamed for what happens to you, but you will lose your mind.
Actually,
we
Rubia,
were
if
coming from-
you can explain to us in cop or legalese how in the hell Brennan came up with her taking her vehicle because she's a functional human being who hadn't been charged with anything away from the house is consciousness of guilt.
And hiding it in a driveway in full public view.
And going to her partner's, her recently deceased partner's house was in fact, odd and suspicious and in furtherance of this conspiracy.
The second station, the station 1 engine is the one that responded to Fairview.
Okay, and that was a typical large fire engine, correct?
Yeah.
And did the fire engine have its lights on?
I assume it did, only because we rarely shut our lights off on a scene.
Sure. And there were police officers walking about, milling about?
Yes.
Do you know how many?
I know I spoke with Officer Saraf and Officer Mullaney.
Okay. And
so at least 2.
And you know them by name?
Yeah, Canton's a fairly small town, so you run into the police on a regular basis.
Sure, and you work cooperatively with them, correct?
Yes.
Were there other police officers besides Saraf and Mullaney?
I'm sure there could have been, but I don't recall ever speaking with them or interacting with them.
Okay. Were there other EMTs or firefighters there when you got there?
Just my Lieutenant Woodbury, and then firefighter Sam Pock.
Okay, and they were in charge of engine 1?
Well, the station 1 engine.
The station 1 engine, okay. And there were also civilians on scene, correct?
Correct.
So you would agree that there was a lot of activity outside 34 Fairview, correct?
There's a fair amount of
I
activity.
mean, there were people and vehicles and lights surrounding that residence, correct?
Yeah, it was way worse than expected. She wasn't crossed the first time. She admitted to lying to a grand jury. Well, she technically didn't lie. No, you factually lied. Well, I didn't mean to lie.
It was unintentional.
It was unintentional. You can go to prison for lying. I can? No one told me.
I assume so, yes.
Well, you were there, so you don't really have to assume, right?
There was at least 2 police cruisers and a fire engine.
Right, and civilians, and police officers, and firefighters, correct? And civilians.
Correct.
All right. With all of that activity outside 34 Fairview, did you ever see the homeowner come out of his house?
I wouldn't have known the homeowner.
Do you ever see anybody exit the house?
I was not focused on the house at all.
All right. You were there to do a job, correct?
I was there to take somebody to the hospital.
Right. And you were there also to do a medical or psychiatric assessment while you were on scene, correct?
Well, yes, my partner was.
All right. When you got there, you learned, well, strike that. You knew going there that your patient would have been Karen Reed, correct?
No.
Okay. When you got there, you learned your patient was to be Karen Reed, correct?
Yes.
All right. And given the nature of the call, you knew when you arrived that you would be transporting her to the hospital, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
One of the first things that you tried to do was to get a medical history from her, correct?
Or my partner.
All right. And you were present for that, correct?
I may or may not have been.
getting a medical history is important so that you can pass along information to the hospital when you eventually arrive there with the patient, correct?
Yes.
And you know that when assessing and treating somebody, getting more information is always better than getting less information, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so there are times when you'd like to get less information from a patient before you transport them?
So it would be
My
pertinent
doctor.
information. For instance, if somebody was complaining of chest pain and they had, stents placed in their heart, we wouldn't talk about how they had their tonsils removed when they were 12.
Okay, fair enough. But getting more information is not going to negate the crucial information that you do get, correct?
It certainly could in a critical stage. If there was a critical patient, we wouldn't typically overburden passing off a report to a nurse or a doctor with non-pertinent information.
Okay, it's not your testimony that getting less information is always better than getting more information, is it?
I would say getting pertinent information is better than having.
That wasn't my question. My question was, is it your testimony that getting less information is always better than getting more information, sir?
I would not agree with that, no.
Okay, thank you. Now, the medical history that was taken from Ms. Reed listed her as having multiple sclerosis, right?
I'm going to see it, Heather. Please.
Look at this man. Rough.
Oh my gosh, she looks like Cher from
exudes
As
manliness.
If. Or
Now she's smiling again, laughing.
Or-
I can't with this woman. I'm sorry, I lost everything for her. Understand?
I think that Valhalla had a really good point that, John's mom probably hasn't been able to process this. And if I were John's mom, I'd still be in hate fire mode. Like the side eye, I would cut at Karen. You have no idea. So that does put it into a different perspective.
But you would never ever be stupid enough to call her when she had nothing to say.
No,
Hey,
I do
look,
think that
it's,
this was
Ben
a.
Affleck.
Oh, he got away from both gens. Good for you, sir.
I don't know what.
Thank you. Sir, the medical testimony, history that your partner and you took from Ms. Reed listed that she suffered from multiple sclerosis, correct?
Correct.
And you know that that's a chronic disease of the central nervous system?
It's my understanding.
And what does chronic mean?
I believe any disease lasting more than a certain amount of time. It could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Persists for a long time or constantly recurs?
Correct.
And it's a disease that affects neurological muscle control, correct?
That's my understanding.
And last question, it's also a progressive.
Why do you think they didn't call her last time? First of all, she came off really unlikable. She started out with that joke. If she had kept it for the first joke, I would have laughed, maybe a little sniggly snick. I don't think it's funny, but then she persisted with it. And then having her say, I saw Karen and thinking, what is she doing here? To me, that just grinds my gears, because why wouldn't a girlfriend of 2 years be at your son's hospital? That's such a stupid thing to say.
Yeah,
Well,
and
my biggest thing was her in the, what was it? Oh, when she said, I left him there. You left him there? That burns my ass, because it's like, he's an adult man. What are you talking
He's
about?
46 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, she couldn't even remember his age.
To be fair, I would probably space out too, because I don't do math. That's why I am the math consultant in this case.
This is a 3-year-old case. You know how old your son was when he passed away. Again, she's been sitting there for 3 years waiting for this moment, and she couldn't even remember how old John. It's like Plevin, who thinks that Karen Reed is 43 years old.
How old is she?
That screams you're the type of mother-in-law that will come between your kids and her love life. Come between her kids' love life. Yeah, that's what I saw.
She did. She was actively doing that.
Yeah,
she was at the house all the time for the kids. whatever.
which means it tends to get worse over time?
My understanding.
All right. Now, when you first interacted with Karen Reed after you got to 34 Fairview and encountered that whole scene, it was clear to you that a major focus for her was whether John O'Keefe was alive or dead, correct?
Correct.
Bless you. She asked if somebody could survive after having been found in the snow without a jacket, correct?
For many hours, correct.
All right. And you mentioned something about hypothermia, that you assumed that you may have been dealing with a hypothermia situation from earlier, correct?
Well, she said that he had been out in the snow with no jacket on for many hours.
And you assumed hypothermia was your testimony, correct?
Yes.
You are not qualified to diagnose hypothermia, are you?
I'm not a doctor.
Okay. And you don't know if your assumption about hypothermia was correct or incorrect, correct?
Is my assumption correct?
My question is that as you testify here today, after having dropped off Karen Reed at the hospital for that Section 12, you don't know if the assumption that you made that you were dealing with the hypothermia situation was correct or not. Is that right?
Well, they were certainly working on him at the hospital.
No, but then Mommy would have said, and they had a really rocky relationship, and Brennan would have gotten that out of her. And then he would say, so kind of like we see in the text here, that it was more, she was a weekend bang more than a girlfriend.
It was my impression that they were, I mean, he was going to leave her anyway, yada, yada, yada. It was,
yeah.
They were like, yeah, she would have pushed that for sure.
Yeah.
Hospital as a hypothermia patient.
You don't know if your assumption was correct or not, sir.
I guess I don't.
And you told her, in fact, that you could not
Clearly.
speak to that, correct?
I'm sorry, to what?
In terms of how long somebody could survive outside, correct?
I couldn't speak to his condition is basically what I was trying to say to her.
All right. But she still persisted in asking you over and over if he was alive or dead, correct?
Correct.
She wouldn't let that go. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
And that was despite your not being able to give her an answer, correct?
Again, we were just trying to sort of give her any hope.
Right. Okay. So she kept asking it, and you were trying to give her hope that he could still be alive, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, today you claim that her demeanor had changed when you mentioned Kerry Roberts, correct?
Correct.
And the term that you used to describe her demeanor when you mentioned Kerry Roberts as being part of a support system, what term did you use?
I'm sorry.
When you just testified on direct examination, did you characterize the way that she reacted when you mentioned
She had been crying in her hands, and I said, you know, it looks like you have a very strong support system. And she picked up her head. She had her face in her hands. She picked up her head out of her hands, looked at me, and said, "Do you know Kerry Roberts?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." And she said, "Anybody who knows Kerry Roberts wouldn't say that about her."
Okay. And you've previously described that in testimony last year as her being snarky was the term you used, correct?
Correct.
But you were first interviewed by the police on February 8th of 2022, correct?
Oh,
that's what the report says.
10 days after this?
About that.
And the events of January 29th were fresh in your mind on February 8th of 2022, correct?
As fresh as they are today.
Okay, so
I hate
I have a
that saying.
This is not going to be the same. This 3-year freshness. I mean, are they selling Tupperware? Do they have elegant Tupperware in Canton? Because the 3-year freshness I mean, does it still burp and everything like, you know, when you open the little freshness container after 3 years?
Let's just see if he has as fresh a memory as he had 3 years ago, because I'm pretty sure Yannetti has something on a piece of paper that could prove him wrong.
you do not allow that your memory was better on February 8th of 2022 regarding January 29th of 2022. It wasn't better on February 8th than it is today, is your testimony.
I would feel it's just as good.
Okay. Your memory does not get better over time, correct?
For this case, it seemed to stick out to me.
Okay, so are you testifying that your memory gets better over time?
No. But
that would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Correct.
In that February 8th, 2022 interview, you were asked about Kerry Roberts, right?
I'm sorry, what day?
February 8th of 2022.
Okay.
You were asked about Kerry Roberts, right?
And Anime Rumpe, I think I mentioned it before. I agree. When he started on the defense questioning, the went away. The lip smack's still there and just as annoying. But I think it has to do with he's not trying to remember what is the thing I have to say now, because we talked about this umpteen times before I was to testify today. He forgot to ask if he met with people at the DA's office.
I do not recall if I was or was not.
You told the police that you knew Kerry Roberts from your neighborhood, correct?
Okay, yes.
And you've testified today that she just lived 200 yards away from you, right around the corner, right?
About that.
And you told police that you had seen Kerry Roberts on scene at 34 Fairview when you got there, correct?
Correct.
You also told police that Karen Reed had told you about making statements about her wanting to die, correct?
Correct.
But on February 8th of 2022, just 10 days after these events, you never mentioned to the police during that interview that Karen was snarky in any way, correct?
I don't know if I did or I didn't. I don't know if it would be in their report.
It's not. That's why he's asking them nuts.
Yeah.
If you saw that report, would it refresh your memory as to whether or not you mentioned
because you didn't say
snarkiness?
it.
I don't think I mentioned snarkiness that day. No.
Okay. All right. Well, that answers my question.
Okay.
But after that interview, and of course, even after January 29th of 2022, you went back to your neighborhood, the same neighborhood that you lived in with Kerry Roberts, correct?
Correct.
Do you still live in that neighborhood?
I do.
Does Kerry Roberts still live there?
She does.
So you and Kerry Roberts have continued to live in the same neighborhood for years after January 29th, correct?
We have.
And before you ever encountered Karen Reed that day, you had interacted with Kerry Roberts in the past, correct?
Briefly, yes.
Well, you were both on the same neighborhood Facebook page, were you not?
Yes, that's why I volunteered to bring the fire truck to the
Right.
block
So
party.
one time she had posted on that neighborhood Facebook page that she wanted to have a fire truck at the neighborhood block party, correct?
Correct.
And that's when you replied and volunteered that you would bring the fire truck to that block party as she requested, correct?
Correct.
And you also worked with Kerry Roberts on the Ponkapog Civic Association, did you not?
I did not know. She worked on the board prior to my arrival on the board.
So you both worked on the same board, but just at different times?
Different times, correct.
All right. We had, I think you had touched on this earlier, in addition to knowing Kerry Roberts, having been with the Canton Fire Department since 2006, there have been many times when you've worked in conjunction with the police, correct?
Correct.
And in addition to the two police officers that you mentioned having seen at 34 Fairview on January 29th, that being Seraph and Mulaney, you know many other officers at the Canton police station.
I do.
And as you say, Canton's a small town, correct?
Relatively.
People know each other, correct?
Correct.
You also knew former state trooper Michael Proctor before you arrived at 34 Fairview, correct?
I did.
Michael Proctor actually was 2 years ahead of you in school, was he not?
He was.
And you learned at some point that your school classmate, Michael Proctor, was the lead investigator into the death of John O'Keefe, this case, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, when you spoke to the police in February of 2022, Michael Proctor was one of the troopers to interview you, correct?
Correct.
You did not go to school with Karen Reed, right?
No, not to my knowledge.
You didn't help coordinate neighborhood block parties with Karen Reed, right?
No.
You were not in a civic association that Karen Reed belonged to at any point, correct?
No.
She was a stranger to you on January 29th, 2022, correct?
She was a patient of mine, yes.
Well, as far as you knew, she was an outsider to Canton, correct?
I did not know that.
You didn't live in the same neighborhood with her?
I'm not sure if we did or did not.
You had no personal contact with her either before or after January 29th of 2022, correct?
No.
All right. Now, as a result of your having gone to the scene, there's a patient care record that is generated, correct?
Correct.
And on this issue of the snarkiness and the demonstration that you just did, there's a contemporaneous report of your team's observations from January 29th, right?
Are you referring to my partner's run report?
Yeah, the patient care report.
Yes.
All right. And that patient care report is dated January 29th of 2022 and is timed at 9:03 and 34 seconds a.m. Does that sound right?
Sounds about right.
All right. And that 9:03:34, from your knowledge of how patient care reports are generated, would that be the time that you arrived on scene or the time that the report is written?
I I mean, I would have to see what time, the exact time you're referring to, but it could be the time the call is closed, which, or it could be the time you finish the report. There could be multiple reports. I'm not exactly positive which report you're talking about.
Okay. In any case, it was from that morning, correct?
Well, I assume so.
I mean, there was only one morning that you went to 34 Fairview.
Well, no, but there could be two reports. So the engine has to write a report and the ambulance has to write a report.
But they're both about that morning, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, there are boxes to fill out on the patient care record, correct?
Correct.
One of the boxes is primary impression.
Yes.
What does primary impression mean?
That is just what we believe the patient's not complaint is, but what we believe the patient's suffering from.
Okay. And that is listed on the patient care record for Karen Reed as a behavioral/psychiatric episode, correct?
Yeah. So that's a box we check for just about any section 12.
Sure. And of course, that mentions nothing about snarkiness, correct?
No, that is my partner's report.
Okay. There's also a box for secondary impression, correct?
Correct.
What is secondary impression?
That might be like just a secondary complaint most of the time. A lot of the times, patients don't have a secondary complaint.
Okay, but in this case, it's listed as anxiety/emotional upset, correct?
Yes.
All right. And again, that mentions nothing about snarkiness, correct?
That's my partner's report, yes.
There's also a box for signs and symptoms, right?
There is.
And nowhere in the signs and symptoms box is snarkiness mentioned, correct?
No, I don't think that would be medically appropriate.
And then in the patient care record, it's recorded that Karen was found sitting in the front passenger seat of a friend's car, crying and visibly upset, but cooperative, right?
If that's my partner's words, yes.
All right. And those words, actually nowhere in the patient care record is it listed that she was snarky in any way, correct?
Again, that would not be something we would put into a patient care report.
And you did not put it in, correct?
It was my partner's report, and no, we did not.
You absolutely would put distinct changes in emotional behavior or tonal setoffs in a mental health care complaint. You would absolutely note if they became aggressive, change demeanor, shift demeanor. You would have to note some things, especially when you're depriving someone of their freedom with a, non-consensual Baker Act. I would think that you would have to say, yes, she was, hysterical, not following directions, uncooperative, these kind of things. You would absolutely need to put these down if you are depriving someone of their freedom. I mean, he is correct that the CC, the chief complaint, would be, probably fairly short, but your contemporaneous notations, your patient care notes, you would describe this. When I worked in patient care, I would have described a fairly large tonal shift, even if it wasn't involved with, physical therapy, because that's still something that you need to make note of. If I said something to a patient that completely shut them down, you need to note that for the next therapist so they don't, repeat that same mistake or touch on a sensitive issue.
Yeah, especially when it's a mental issue. I just had a case where they put in every time, because she had a lot of mood swings. She was schizo. So they put in every time they transferred, they would put in, today this set her off, this did this, today did this, this didn't set her off, because they have mood swings.
Okay. And once Ms. Reed agreed to go with you in the ambulance, it's fair to say she was still upset and crying, correct?
At times.
If I may have a moment.
Sure.
You may have to.
Actually, if I can just get my glasses so that I can see. Thank you.
I had a poll
Ladies,
saying,
he does CrossFit. Look at that silicon ring.
will Brennan stop being an a-hole? He's a douche canoe, 51%. No, 46%. Yes, 2%. The 2% was Marissa, who hit the wrong button again.
Okay. You had just testified that you said at times she was upset and crying when she got in the ambulance, correct?
Correct.
You testified on April 21st of 2022 before the grand jury, did you not?
I did.
And that was 3 months after the events that you're testifying about today?
Roughly.
And your memory back then was fresh, was it not?
Yes.
And you were asked the question, once she was in the back of the ambulance and she agreed voluntarily to go to the hospital, did she appear to calm down at that point? Do you remember that question?
I do.
And your answer was, I mean, she wasn't arguing against us at that point. I mean, once she, agreed to come with us voluntarily, I mean, she was still upset, crying, and talking on the phone. Do you remember that answer?
I do.
All right. You didn't mention in that answer that it was only at times that she was crying and upset, correct?
No.
Okay. The whole time, from beginning to end, Ms. Reed was constantly worried about John, was she not?
Yeah.
Sustained.
You recall that she was on the phone at one point speaking to someone that she called Papa, correct?
Correct.
Did you later learn that Papa was John O'Keefe Sr.?
I am just learning that just now.
All right. And in any case, you heard her say to Papa, is he dead? He's dead, isn't he?
Sustained.
You could hear on the other end of the line that Papa was saying something to her, correct?
The objection sustained.
May I approach?
The witness or me?
Sidebar.
Okay.
Sidebar.
I don't want to keep you folks here until 4:30. It's been a long day. So I'm going to release you today. Have you come back tomorrow and make every effort to start right at 9 tomorrow.
Why can't you just let him
Please follow
finish?
those cautions. Do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't
He
do any
probably said
independent
it's not
research
gonna
or
be 5
investigation
minutes.
into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read it.
Doesn't seem like they stayed late today. So, rundown of the day. Jamie, you haven't been here this much. What is your impression of today?
Well, I don't like Carrie. I think
Nobody
she's a mean
does.
girl.
No.
I think she got wrapped up in the Jen McCabe saga of, come here, Carrie, let's just go over what happened. And oh, don't you remember when this happened? Oh my God, I do. It's my reenactment of how they came to be. And yeah, and Greeno with his cell phone data, whatever. What else was there?
Then there was the clip played that I didn't really understand why he just played it without. I don't get why he's not setting up these clips. He's just, can I play something for the jury?
Yeah.
I thought someone said something to me. It's
What
just
he's
to get
doing
her-
is he's like,
He's
he has his witnesses
practicing-
that say something, and then he plays his clips.
Yeah, but she was saying something about Carrie. Why didn't you have Carrie understand after and then say, have you ever said any of this? He's constantly doing it ass backwards.
Yeah, you would want the witness on the stand, you'd play the clip and then you'd say, hey, did you ever say this? Or do you remember this? Or what if any snow was there on the ground?
He does it before every break every time. No, he actually does it when they come back from break. That's even weirder.
I think what he's doing is trying to do it between witnesses, so there's not as much downtime. But it's just weird that there's no setup, that there's no witness.
No,
to
because he
introduce
still
them
have to
through.
wait to call his witness. He can't say, I'm going to call Jen McCabe while we're waiting. I'm playing a clip. No, he plays the clip and then calls the witness. So it's ass backwards again. He's not bringing in. The only thing he's using is because Karen has a bit of a harsh face and she has a bit of a harsh tone. And he just wants to prejudice the jury against Karen Reed. And it shouldn't be allowed. And if Bev will allow tomorrow under the claims of conscious of guilt, which is consciousness of guilt. That's the legal term. I'm a baker in Denmark. You're a lawyer. But it's consciousness of guilt, you tried to say, Mr. Hematoba. You should be better. What he's doing is, again, I said it, he's too much of a defense expert to represent the prosecution. And I know that I said it. I think we had Andrea on when I said it, and she said, "No, it's a style," but I feel it's very, very antagonistic the way he's running his case.
So the only question that I have then, I guess, would be: is that something that the average juror is going to pick up on, or is that something that we notice because we watch trials all the time?
Yeah, that is kind of the hard thing to gauge because we watch it. This is kind of like our sports. So everything we see, we analyze through, our lens of, oh, we've seen a billion other trials. But most people don't live and breathe this stuff. So is he going to come off as authoritative and, the, merchant knight of justice fighting for his
Right.
fellow public servant? Or is he
I
going to
hope
come
not.
off as a douche canoe who
As he should.
has the warmth of a pet rock? And pet rock.
like turtles.
And then we go on to the. See, it's really annoying when someone just plays a clip. You don't know why the hell they're playing that clip. Sorry, Mo, I cut you off. I thought you were about to end saying something, so I wanted to put it in to try and
No, it's
imply
okay.
that.
I was
it's-
like, this isn't Mo. Maybe you talk just a little too much.
No, but it was just because you sounded like you're about to end, and then I hit the button, and then you fuck. But it's just to show that weird, because people are sitting out there now and think, why did that turtle clip come up? Why are these film clips where it's from? Gretchen Voss, who's Gretchen Voss? That's why you normally have someone who come in and say, yes, I did an interview with Karen Reed where she said the following statements. Yes, this is a clip from the interview. This is a clip from the interview. Yes, this is a clip.
And then you can also bring in contemporaneous, present sense impressions. That interviewer can say Karen Reed seemed, completely calm when she was telling this story, or, when I asked this question, her lawyer stopped her from answering, or she was in mid. I mean, that would have been impactful. I don't know why he's showing these, like, the more public service announcements in between things. This could have been impactful if you had someone to explain them, to again say, I was here, but just putting them apropos of nothing, it's kind of like, why did I just watch that?
And again, we have this disjointed, because normally you're telling a story. Normally you will tell the story of the first reporting officer. I found the body. Then you'll go into, this is what was happening at the scene. Then we went into her bank records and saw she went to Aruba with Manuel. And then we had that weird communication on the dark web with a goat herder, and allegedly he was driving to California and taking care of a problem, and he said, do I need a 565 or 762 fixer of the problem? 556, sorry.
556.
Well, I'm old school when NATO rounds was 762, but I wasn't back when it was the small ones. By the way, Mo, an MG42 is Hitler's saw, and Daddy had those. It was a great pew pew. You mentioned it in Mornings with Mo this morning.
I will give Lally credit though, because he brought in witnesses in a time, like, in order.
Yeah, but
what do you mean in order?
Lally built the story.
It was annoying, and he questioned them to death. But he had the officers. Yeah, he started at the scene.
Started at the scene.
All the witnesses at the scene.
Then he had all the first responding officers. Then he had the CERT team. Then he had the detectives. Then he had medical professionals, I believe. No, the civilians. No, medical professionals. Then the civilians. Then the lead detectives.
Oh, so you're talking about Lally, not.
Yeah, Lally. I said
I missed that part.
Lally. Yeah.
Missed that part. I was confused. My bad.
Yeah, but this time you start with an EMT, then you go to a civilian witness, then you go to someone who apparently did a PDF file of something. No one really knows what that was about. Then you go to Peck, who cried, and then you went to a guy who did a Baker Act. What is it the meteorologist tomorrow?
I don't know.
Might be.
And then you're peppering in these videos in between them.
It's
Like,
a strange,
it's making no sense.
it's a strange flow.
It seems like Brennan wanted to imitate Jackson's style because Jackson has a very sort of narrative, kind of argument style in his openings. This just doesn't seem to be his natural way of arguing a case. He seems very stiff, very uncomfortable, not confident at all.
I don't know if Marissa is correct. I like the way Brennan is doing it too because it tickles.
What do you mean, Marissa? Like, how is it? I mean, I'm not trying to argue, but like, we know about this case already, right?
But but you just don't ask about the snow. He hasn't asked. He just asked, "How's the weather?" He didn't go on and on. What if any snow? How much time? What if any? But you would, if you want to build the narrative, you'll still have. Okay, you have the first responding officer. He talks about the weather. It was shitty weather. Everything was white out. We couldn't see anything. Then you go on to the EMTs and have them say, "Yes, he was running around screaming, I did it, I did it, I did it." Then you have Carrie Roberts come in and say, "Yeah, I was with her, and she was quite hysterical," or maybe the police officers. But so right now the jury is sitting there thinking, kind of like I did with the story about Jen McCabe's, the Carrie Roberts' house, Jen McCabe's house, John O'Keefe's house, Lang's house, and then Jen McCabe's house again. Who? What? You're sitting here thinking, because it's not logical. You like it because you heard about what if any snow the last time. These people don't know much about this case. They don't know the chronologic build in the case. So you're going to go back and get McLaughlin at a later point. She's going to go back and tell you the same story that you started with. Or is she not called any of the other EMTs who heard her say, "I did it"? That if he doesn't want to call them, yes, then it could kind of. Well, I would still say Trooper Guarino was a big misfire, and I would have started with Peck to put the. That's what they did last time. They put the family first. But if he's going to do this constantly, then you'll lose the jury. Trust me, I've done this not 1,000 times, but I've done it close to 100 times. You tell a story. You start on that day leading up to this. If you do, I had a case once where we had every court in Denmark is recorded, and then they'll write the transcript later. We actually had a court reporter. It's the only case I ever had, jotting down because she said, "I can't understand it when I listen to it because this guy kept, well, I was here, I was there, I was here, I was there. No, I was actually here. No, I was there." And
I
agree. The same feeling.
I agree. It feels disjointed. It feels random and unpredictable and strange.
This is already a case with a lot of moving parts. And if you want to, again, simplify it down to its basic, parts, you need to inform the jury in an easy to digest way. Do none of these lawyers talk to real people, potential juries, as to what would make the information easy to understand?
I think Lally did it the right way because he brought in the family to establish John and Karen's relationship. And then we moved on to the day it like all the people, what happened. And then we moved on to, and then then we got all the Alberts. Then we got all the, it flowed better because now we got, we are getting the mom, and then we go back to this, and then we got Carrie Roberts who's just talking about this. Then we got the Baker Act guy. Then we got the guy that came and did the first responding. Like, what the heck? It's so confusing.
Try imagining this. A, B, C, D. It's the four stories. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings. First, these are the EMTs. So EMTs are 1, 2 was civilians, 3 was police who did technical, and 4 was family. But then the next guy who will take the stand will be it'll be another civilian. Then we'll have a family member. Then we'll keep doing. Oh, this doesn't work anymore.
The marker sucks, Baker.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep doing this for 12 weeks. That's not engaging to the jury. That's highly distracting, because then they'll go back and say, "Oh, I have to check what did the medical examiner." Well, I have to go to day 1, day 15. Oh, this was day 10. Oh, day 7. So you'll have to sit there, and it's disjointed. You can't go back and read your notes in one go.
I think he's doing it intentionally, though. I think
He's
it's gonna
doing
be-
it on
yeah.
purpose. Yep.
It's going to be much
Popping
harder
in my head.
to pick up lies between these people, right? When we've got Kerry Roberts on day 1 and 2, and then Jen McCabe's not coming until day 20, right? It's going to be really
Yeah.
hard to remember everything Kerry Roberts said that was a bullshit lie compared to what Jen McCabe's saying now. So it's intentional. It's intentional.
I think that's what it is, because honestly, if you keep flipping around and bringing people in, then people's stories can't line up, because we all know that when they brought in all those witnesses, everybody's story was different. Everybody,
Yeah.
you know, and
But
Yeah.
Marissa, I think you're getting it wrong. He's still going to call all these people.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh,
if
yeah.
he's not going to call all these people, this case will be turned over to the defense by Friday next week. If
Yeah.
he's just going to
gonna call
call
everybody.
one EMT, one police officer, like a normal case, you get 2 officers at the scene. You have the lead investigator. You had the one who did the crime scene photographs and got all the samples. Then you have the lab tech. Then you have the medical examiner. This is a simple, stupid hit and run case. The only problem in this case is the police didn't make it a simple hit and run case.
Yeah.
This case, if it was a hit and run case, would be less than a week. You would have Jen McCabe or Kerry Roberts testifying about what happened that morning in the car. You would have the first responder who saw John. You would have the EMT who worked on him, have the physician who tried to resuscitate him at the hospital. You had the ME who testified, yeah, he was clearly struck by a car. You can clearly tell. And then you will have the lead investigator who said, well, they had a history of angry texts to each other. So they had a bad relationship, but they could get together when they drank because they had a codependent substance abuse problem. It'll be a 1-week case. But this case will be at least 6 weeks from hanky-panky. That tells me you will see more than one EMT. You will see more than one officer. You will see a lot more civilians. You will get Brian Albert. You will get Brian Higgins. You will get Jen McCabe. You will see all the former players in this game. Maybe McLaughlin. I think he won't have her come back because she got PTSD from testifying.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah. And that's going to be the thing.
Yep.
But all of those witnesses back to back had us snoring. If they said anything different, nobody caught it. No, but again, if you have you have us snoring and we are doing all of this. But when you want the jury to go back and remember this is the state. The state is proving it. The defense wants them to slip up and remember all the bad stuff. But when you send them back and they have a discussion said, but didn't Flamati say one thing and McLaughlin say another thing? And you will have to have 25 different notepads to try and figure out what day was Flamati there, what day was McLaughlin there. It's going to ruin your case for the state. If you have all the EMTs in a row, they can just swip to it and say, no, I noted at everyone, and I believe them. They seemed very competent. They seemed like they were very trustful. I hit him. I noted it down. She said it 3 times. Even when pressed on cross, she said, I heard her say, I hit him. If you have to sit and do the, well, I have this book and I have this book, and where did you get Flamati? Who was Flamati? Flamati was what?
I mean, honestly, I've got, and I may take obsessive amount of notes. So I've got 21 front to back just on day 2. So I'm up to 21. Now, the problem is I would have to go through and then write down brief summaries of every day and categorize the witnesses. I do that at the end of each day here. So that would be maybe a full 2 days just to reorganize my notebook so that I could categorize it.
But like I could ask, and I know this would be hard for everybody because we know so much, but put the Karen Reed case out of your mind. If this was a fresh case you never heard about, at this point in time, would you have a grasp on like what happened really? I mean, you know that a man was found dead in a yard, but like I'm so lost on where he's going with the story part. Like I don't really understand really what's going on.
Well, let's summarize what happened. An alarm went off at a fire station, and a guy who looked kind of like Joseph Gordon-Levitt went to the scene.
If he took meth for a
mean.
year and a half.
Yeah. and he heard her say, "I hit him." Then Carrie Roberts was called at 5 a.m, where she said John's dead, and she drove around town with her for some time. Karen really wanted, when she found out they had been in Fairview, she really wanted to go back, but Carrie didn't want to do that. She wanted to go back to the house. Then we had a sub story about how John was a good boy, and the mom went to the hospital with Carrie Roberts. Carrie Roberts must be a good woman, because there was that little problem on cross that she had said something in a different trial, but not in this trial. And then we had a guy come in and talk about some program the police use. I'm not sure why he was talking about it, but I think it was called cellulose or something like that. And we were played some random clips from, and they're like 4 seconds, so I can't really, before I get to look at it, I'm like, what happened? And I'm trying to, I didn't catch that. And then we had a guy who had a strange way of changing from saying constantly to not saying it, depending on who asked him questions. And he seemed really weird trying to enact how the defendant had been in his ambulance, but they Baker acted her because she was irrational. Oh, I remember when my grandma died, I was so out of it. That was horrible. What? Oh, they're still talking. At this point, if you are on the jury, you don't know all we know. You don't know how Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe, you're sitting there thinking, who's Jen McCabe and why are they talking so much about her? What, if any,
Why are
is
they
an
bringing
outrage?
up this hypothermia search? Like,
Yeah.
what relevance does that have right now?
Yeah,
I mean,
why
it
do they
sucks.
keep asking her about a hypothermia search? And what is that grand jury thing? I trust this jury 100%. It's the bestest of juries in all history. It's as good a jury as The Lord of the Ring is a trilogy. None of them would sit back when they're getting into the car today with Robert and looking at him and said, that's a weird day in court today. They kept talking about some Google searches of hypothermia, but I don't get why they kept talking about it. Yeah, it was snowing, but didn't they say he didn't have? Can I borrow your phone so it's not on my phone? I'm just gonna goggle a little bit.
It's at least as good a jury as Pontius Pilate was.
Hey, he did what they asked him to do. He washed his hands and said, if you
gotta
want
give
it,
the
I'm
crowd
gonna
what
do
they
it.
want. And if it's Freebird, it's always Freebird.
Yeah. Also, why is she charged with murder if she dies of hypothermia? Did you notice what we haven't talked about now?
The death of John O'Keefe.
How John
I
O'Keefe
was
died.
wondering if we were going to get to that.
Maybe. We got plenty of weeks, y'all. We got weeks and weeks and
True.
weeks. We got time.
Very
Yeah.
true.
But that's why you have the lead investigator or a first responding officer to come in and say, yeah, well, we came out, jeepers cripe. That guy had been chewed up by a Lexus with the dog bite extension. It was clear as day. And yeah, he was a cop, but luckily it was on another cop's lawn, so we knew everyone in the house was safe and it couldn't have happened in there. So we focused on the girlfriend instantly. And this is what we're going to tell you how we got to that point. His opening statements didn't really prepare them for. His opening statements was how heroic the EMTs were, and then the car ride, and then you go to the EMTs and think, oh, the car ride is next, or the car attack was the next. Nope, it's riding around in the snow with Carrie. Who's Carrie, and what happened to the body? And he has blood, and he has he has a big dent in his head. The car must have hit his head. At this point, I would think John O'Keefe got hit in the head, because we have now had 2 witnesses testify he had a big lump on the right side of his face. And then I'm going to go, at some point, someone will tell me, no, she sideswiped his arm.
It is very interesting because so we all remember the Darrell Brooks case, which was infinitely more complex than this one. And they had the lead detective kind of go on, come off, but they told it in chronological order. So yes, you had the lead detective, but it actually made sense, and they had demonstratives and a timeline. Pepperidge Farm remembers when prosecutors made things to make things easier for us to remember.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I need to go get me some Bartles and James, Jamaican me happy. I'm gonna be back.
No, it's just so, but I hate to admit that Lally, other than the fact that he didn't need to call 15 EMTs and a million police officers, he had it right. He was doing it in chronological order, and I loved it. I'm really not liking this setup.
Yeah, and again, did you miss anything in the last 30 minutes? Yes, us yelling at Marissa.
Well, we were yelling at her. I was just
Jamie, you are
wondering-
so mean. I was sitting here saying, Jamie, calm down. Don't yell at Marissa. Marissa is going to send me an evil email now from my own email account, and I'm going to think, why did I do that?
So are we all dressing in our hospital Johnnies tomorrow?
I'm going to go to the Johnny right soon because I need to pee. This will be the last thing you see on Earth. And there's a little doggo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Baker's last meal.
Oh, by the way,
So is the dog your last meal, or did the dog eat you?
Yeah, is it the dog?
I don't know what Brandon is up to now, but it's probably because I yelled at Marissa, and he can feel that she is already. She's already on her way over here on a plane. Oh, Amanda has a birthday tomorrow. Congratulations. 21 has never looked this good.
Happy birthday.
The clips are so loud and so piercing, I kind of tune them out and I find them irritating. Yep, but the fun thing is, because do I have anything that's about the same length as, yeah, this one?
I'm not crying, you're crying.
What?
That's about the length of the clips, and you're sitting. What happened? Play it in context. Play a 10-second clip so you can kind of figure out what's going on. Why is this being played?
And it might just be me, but the triple view really kind of confuses me. It almost takes, my brain doesn't like the triple view of Karen, not because I don't like how Karen looks or anything like that. It's just, I don't like the triple view. So it always takes me a second to even key in on it, to stop paying attention to that, and then to start paying attention to what she says. And by then it's done.
And you have that thing where they are, it's from 2 different interviews. So you're sitting there thinking, did she change her clothes? There's so much visual and audio attack going on. I think I think it would have been better to do the setup. Say, hey, Carrie, we have this clip from a Gretchen Voss interview. Blah, 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 Carrie, blah, blah, blah. Can you, did you ever say, I can't even remember what the clip about, Carrie. That's why I'm treading water right now, because I can't remember the clip.
Remember.
And Baker's Farm doesn't remember. It's that it doesn't work for me, and I'm slightly ADHD, so I need constant distractions, or I'll get bored quite easy. But I'm just sitting there thinking, what? Oh, that looks, no, it's over. Don't even get it twice.
No, and yeah.
I'm starting to think maybe Brennan is thrown the trial. No, this guy,
he's out for blood.
He has a hate boner on. He want to win it.
He's got a hate boner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trademarked by Mo, hate boner, 2025.
He's got a hate boner. Yeah.
And it's too much to look at once. Yeah, and especially because it's taken out of context. I'm going to play another clip for you, and then you look up and they play it on the screen, and it's a 4-second clip. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to cue in what she's saying. What's this even about? Does it have anything to do with the next witness or the previous witness? And I just don't like the style. I find it very visually and audio disrupting, and I like having everything going on at once. That's why I'm constantly fighting with Plevin on Twitter. I'm not. He blocked me, asshole.
Oh. You can say mean words on my account for me, because I don't even know who he is, really.
You just have to make a fake account so you can go hang out with him. It's going to be Plevin Lover. That's what it should be.
LDR has a lot of guys coming around giving him love bonus.
Yeah. LDR. Plevin Lover. Go over there. You could do a picture of his face with hearts in his eyes, and then
hearts on Plevin.
Yeah, see what he's doing.
Mass forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow is my favorite color.
Yeah, clips. I think they're highly disruptive. So, but
yeah, especially out of context.
Yeah, especially out of context. Yeah, and I just found an amazing picture from Marissa account.
Oh no,
Helen, get to bed. It's late here in Europe. It's 11:15. So
holy fazolies.
And it sounded like tomorrow is a full day. Friday will be a half day, I think, because it won't be Wadir. Monday, potentially Wadir. We'll find out tomorrow. So. We'll find out tomorrow if Brennan is allowed to use these absolutely stupid statements about what, if any, that car is a consciousness of guilt evidence. Mm-hmm. Can I be honest with you? Can I be frank? I won't be Baker. I'll be frank with you.
You can ID however you want, Baker.
Thank you. I think Brennan is an asset.
Oh.
He does have a vague resemblance.
He does look like one.
Yeah. I'm just not feeling the love for him, if you know what I mean. If you feel what I'm putting down.
No, not at all. He's not good. He's more passionate in the emotions to keep Arca out than he is for this trial, and it drives.
Yeah, and then he wants to delay it, and then he wants to, and then he wants to, and then he wants to, and I'm just afraid that Bev will allow him because she's been. I have to be honest, Bev has been fair with what's happened in the courtroom. I don't think she's been fair in the motion hearing and calling the extra voir dire. I think she's been fair during the trial. With the jury in the room, she's fair. So far.
So far, she
is. It's not as bad as the last time. Do you want to object, Mr. Lally? But we'll be back in the morning. Mo will be back at 8 o'clock with her morning
Yes.
show, talking about all the newsy news that you could choose.
Yes.
Why-
The news
why
you
I'm
never
so-
knew you always needed. Newsy news.
Snoozy news. Valhalla will be herding his goats and maybe turn down the audio so we don't get woken up at 4 a.m. by that stupid rooster. That would be a preferable thing, Valhalla. Jamie won't be here much tomorrow. It's telephone day at her work. Some people have been reaching out saying, what's Jamie doing? Jamie is working. We have to say for legal reasons, that she's working her job. In reality, she's in El Salvador trying to overturn the government as a part of a secret CIA sting operation, but we're not allowed to talk about it. It's very secret.
It cut and dry. Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right? Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?
Objection.
Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?